Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Meeple Reviews. This is episode 17.
17.
And I am Jeffrey.
And I am Jacob.
And we have a special treat in store for our audience today.
We do?
Yeah, we're doing our first interview in this episode.
Right, yeah.
You know, we're rookies, so please take it easy on us.
Mm-hmm. We've actually recorded it, so we know how bad it is. or how good it is, I mean.
It's not so much an interview as just letting him talk.
Well,
sorry, David.
Yeah, David likes to talk, but that's good.
Yeah.
Because it put less work on us, and we want a very casual feel, so we don't want to feel like it's forced. We're asking, and here's the question, here's the answer.
Right.
It was more just communication, so awesome.
Yeah. You weren't trying it for like a CEO position. High stress, high environment, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So, it's been a while since we've recorded, and you've had a long time to play some games.
Yeah, well, it was less the time frame and more I went to a con.
Right.
So I went to OdaFest 2016, which is an anime convention here in Calgary, Alberta. They also have a board game presence.
Oh, really?
And a video game presence. So lots of games being played, lots of people in cosplay running around, all sorts of panels and events going on. So I got a lot of gaming played, but I am also exhausted. Exhausted.
Who knew that gaming would be so hard?
Oh man, it was kind of brutal, but yeah. So I got a lot played. How about yourself?
I was away for work for like almost 2 weeks, so didn't get to play any games there.
Do you ever bring games with you when you go to work, or rule books, or anything? Well,
rule books I'll find some online occasionally and read up or watch some videos on how to play and kind of get an idea so that when I come home I can jump into the game. I do a lot of shopping for games while I'm up there.
Okay.
Like the withdrawal starts coming on, I get the shakes, and I gotta go online. Oh man, I need a game.
Sure.
But it's also really cool because I can buy the game up there, and then by the time I get home,
it's arrived.
And it's like Christmas morning. I come in the house, I open up the box, and woohoo! There's some games.
Nice. That's pretty exciting.
But no, I've thought a couple times about bringing games up to work, but it'd be really hard to just the work environment to play anything that long, and I don't really have that many short games that would kind of be good for two-player. But I actually bought Onitama recently, and I was thinking about bringing that one up to work because that's a two-player, and it could be pretty quick. And if you just need to stop playing to go back to work or something comes up, you could just leave it there. Doesn't take up much space, and come back to it on your next break or something.
Very cool. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't usually play many games though.
That's all right.
But I did come home and I played Terra Mystica again.
Nice.
Woo!
Again.
Yeah, taught another new person Terra Mystica.
Okay.
So it is solidifying it.
As a gateway game.
As a gateway game.
Right.
Yeah, I think that should be like a tagline for Terra Mystica.
I don't.
A gateway to Euros. It's actually, I think, because I had taught it to someone else, new the previous time, and I was teaching it again, I feel like I got even better at teaching it the second time.
Okay.
So it went even smoother then. So it was really good.
Cool. Well, we were debating our next topic for episode 18 being gateway games.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that, I think,
yes,
in that episode and discuss kind of what is gateway.
Not only did we give our audience a tease of what's coming later on in this episode, but you're teasing them about the next episode. You're just sending out hooks all over the place.
Hooks all over the place. That's right. So we've been playing a couple games. Let's talk about what we have been playing recently.
Right.
We've been playing some Ashes, Rise of the Phoenix Born.
Yeah.
And we're really enjoying it, right?
Yeah. I was thinking about it all the time when I was at work, and I was like watching some videos on it. I was like, oh man, this this is really cool. This is getting me hooked. So then I just had to go out and buy the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sat down. We built a couple decks really quick, and then we played twice in the same day. And I love that phase where you build something, you want it to do something in specific,
right?
And then you're like, well, this card is garbage.
Yeah.
And then
well, first it's this card is going to be awesome.
It's
going to
be awesome. Oh man, this is gonna wreck everything. He's not even gonna see it coming. Then you have it in your hand, and you're like, I never want to play this card.
Yeah.
Like I will never afford this. Why do I put it in here? Right. But then you get into that tweaking phase of this works, this doesn't work, refining. That's the fun thing about these games is learning what works, what doesn't work, and fitting it to your play style. And there's a lot of cards in the card pool, like already. Like with the base game, there's a lot available to you, so you can make a whole bunch of different style of decks.
Yeah, there's a lot there, but you're also limited by your dice pool. So if you have a huge variety of spells, then you're going to have only like 2 of each dice type. If you were going like magic style, what's it called? Domain, where you have 1 of every type.
Yeah.
So if you had like 2 of each type of dice in your pool, then you would only be able to use them for specific things. I don't know if that would ever be possible in this game. So when you're building a deck, if you're going 2 types or maybe even splashing in a 3rd there, you're limited by those types of spells.
I think the more you do that in the game, because the way it works is you have these dice, and the dice have different faces. There's a basic, a middle range, and a high symbol. And you're going to be using different combinations of those symbols to play your spells. So the less you have a particular type of dice, the less likely you are to roll the high symbol.
Yeah.
But you can still get it by doing the meditate, where you discard cards out of your deck or out of your hand or board to make it the symbol that you need. So you can still guarantee to get that symbol.
Right.
But you're going to have to spend more time meditating.
Right.
To do that.
And you'll only be able to use it once.
Yeah.
Unless you have something that grabs a die out of your exhausted pool and brings it back into play again, so you can use it again. Which, again, you're wasting time doing that, right?
Yeah. And the other thing that I found interesting once I started deck building for this, because you can include up to 3 copies of any card in your deck.
Yep.
But you choose your starting hand.
Yeah, I love that. It's amazing.
So you could include a 1 of in your deck. Always choose it for your starting hand, and you never have to worry, am I going to see this card during the game?
Exactly, yeah.
Like the whole reason of putting multiple copies is so that when you draw, I'm more likely to see this, but you can just put a 1 of in there that you want, have that in your starting hand, and then every game, if you need it for a particular matchup or something, always guarantee that you have it, which is really, really neat.
Yeah, and spells that you put on your spell board so they go into play, those are like permanent spells that you can access over and over again, and I don't know that there's any cards yet that can get rid of those. There are cards that can exhaust them and put tokens on it so you can't use it, but I don't think there's anything that like removes it from the game. Right. So yeah, you'd be able to put it into play, and then you'd have it for the rest of the game, not have to really worry about it too much.
Yeah, so I'm excited to make a couple different types of decks so I can play against you and then whoop you.
Yeah, it seems to be the way.
I'm currently undefeated.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can keep it that way.
In that and in Scythe.
Yes.
Which we've been playing a lot of recently as well. We've done 3 games so far.
We've done 3 games with 3 different player counts.
Yeah.
We played a 2, 3, and 4 player game.
Yeah.
Which has actually been pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's been really cool.
And yeah, I've won every game of that as well.
Yeah, it was pretty punishing. And like by a large margin, I should mention as well.
Oh yeah.
Like you've doubled my score in every game basically. Which is crazy.
I don't know what it is. It just
it syncs with you.
It just
you understand
clicks.
it, you get it.
It clicks. I can see the tendrils of the game going into in the future, and I see what paths I need to take to get where I want to get.
Mm-hmm.
And and I actually, because when I first started playing, I was wondering, okay, is this going to be better with more players?
Right.
Like a higher player count, is the tension going to be there more so than with a 2-player game.
Right.
But the 2-player game that we had with just me and you, I actually felt more in danger of being attacked in the 2-player game than in the 4-player game. But I think that might also be because in a higher player game, well, what's the chances they're going to attack me?
Right.
There's 3 other players at the table. I'm not the lowest on the power, so he's probably going to attack someone else. So I think you can kind of maybe feel safe in the crowd.
Sure.
In a higher number player game.
Yeah, and the interaction is about the same in all the player counts, which is kind of amazing. How they built the map. In a 2-player game, you might think, oh well, if I'm on the opposite side of the map, I'm never going to interact with my opponent. But you're always forced in Scythe to go from your homeland, where your starting base is, out into the open, because you only have 3 territories that you can control. No matter what race or faction you're playing, you have these 3 terrain tiles. From there, you have to expand out if you're going to get anything done in the game. Yeah. Expanding out puts you into this central area that's all connected by these tunnels, so anyone can get anywhere from that point.
Yeah.
So in a 2-player game, you're engaged as soon as you both hit the center. Yeah. In a 5-player game, you got people left and right, and you're always going to be engaged. But 2-player game, also the same thing.
Yeah, so you're equidistant from everything.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if the person is right next to you, or if they're across the board. It'll take you the same number of moves to get to them.
Exactly.
So there is always that tension regardless of the player count, which is awesome that they built that into the board. Yeah, the board was fantastically designed. I know. It's quite amazing. And I have the collector's edition, so it has the extended board. Sure. So you put that extra board next to it, and the hexes are really big. I'm never going to play with the small side. Really? Okay. Well, even with the big hexes, sometimes I'm like, there isn't enough room in this hex for all this stuff. Right. Like when you've had that one character who just kept going around and having encounters and then like getting more and more resources. Yeah. And it was just like, oh, I take these 10 resources with me over to here. I have another encounter. I got another couple. I'm going to go over here with these. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah. That was my mission that game. I had to get like all these different resources on one tile. So I was just like hoarding them all, moving around with them. Yeah. But yeah, it's a really cool game. The artwork in that game is really nice. Yeah, really nice. It's very evocative of the theme. It's kind of like this farmland area, and then you just have these giant mechs in the background interacting with the different locals. And the choices that you can make on those encounter cards, they're pretty funny usually. Yeah, got some entertaining options. Like there's one where there's a bear, and you can like have the bears frolic together in the snow. It's so good. And the other thing, bear sandwiches. Yeah, the other thing that I like, and they wrote this in the rules too, is that the encounter cards don't have a title. They don't have any flavor text or anything like that. It's just a picture, and then it gives you some decisions on what to do. And it leaves the story up to you to look at the picture and see what's happening and see the different options and how they play into what's happening in this scene. Right. So it even pulls you in and even tells you when you encounter one of those cards to show it to everyone else at the table. Mm-hmm. I think that's really cool. Yeah. And then read out all your options. And yeah, definitely. It's fun. It's lighthearted. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, lighthearted, but sometimes the choices you have aren't that nice. Well, no, but enslave the family. But it always makes you laugh because you're given these 3 options, and it always goes from the nicest possible thing to kind of a neutral ability to a mean thing that you can do. And you always start at the top and read down. So you're reading, oh yeah, I could like befriend these people and help them out with their chores around the farm. And then, maybe you'll pay them for some of their farm animals. Yeah. Okay, well now it's a give and take relationship. Right. And then bottom, it's just like, yeah, I'm going to kick them out of their own house and I'm going to take it for myself. Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, so good. Yeah. But yeah, that's Scythe. I'm hoping that we'll get it to the table a few more times, and then we can do a full review. Yeah, do a video review on the YouTube channel. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, I know earlier on in our podcast, I think I mentioned how I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about the theming of Scythe because it felt like it was two completely different themes mashed together, and I didn't feel like it would work, it would fit. But for some reason, it works. Yeah. I don't really understand how it works, but it feels natural for the game to me. And I quite like it.
I think that's
cool.
The art does it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't... Like, even though it is such a juxtaposition, you have this 1920s era, like, farmland and, clothing and kind of style. But then you have these mechs in the background, and you would think, well, wouldn't it be just a very stark contrast? But the way the art is done, it looks like it's supposed to be there.
Yeah. They're very almost rusted, kind of old, not like a steampunk almost kind
almost
of
steampunk,
feel.
but not over the top, because I think steampunk sometimes is kind of over the top, fantastical.
Yeah. Like
you look at it and you're like, okay, that's not real, but these look real.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that what makes them kind of fit into this. You would think that, I was looking through this old, like, photo album after the First World War, and you would expect to see that picture there.
Yeah. Sure.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah. So that's Scythe.
Yeah.
Stonemaier Games. I'm thinking right now it's my favorite game from them, but we'll have to see.
What other games do they have?
Euphoria.
That I've played.
You haven't played Euphoria.
No.
You haven't played Viticulture.
No.
Between Two Cities.
No.
Yeah, so I think that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Those are all games I'm interested in playing. I just haven't had the chance yet. If they're anything compared to Scythe, Scythe is very cool. It's got quite a bit going on.
And I get the same feelings from their games.
Okay.
Like, when I sit down and play one of their games, I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm playing a Stonemaier game. Like, they definitely have a brand, for sure, and it's in their gameplay.
That's cool.
I don't know. I can't pinpoint it, per se, but it's kind of like you're trying to build an engine or trying to build something that works. And you're like, it isn't as simple as, okay, I go here, I get these resources, and then I go here, and then I trigger an ability, and I get something rolling. You're always like, okay, I'm going to go here, I'm going to get this, but wait, if I go over here next before I go there, then that's going to make that even better. But wait, if I actually go to this other spot before I go to that other spot, before I go there, then it's going to get even better. But wait again, actually, and then you're constantly making a plan and then thinking, oh wait, if I did this first, it's going to make it even better. But you an infinite loop backwards on. And then eventually you're just like, I gotta bite the bullet and I just gotta do what I was planning on doing.
So what you're saying is, when you play Stonemaier games, you become Rado.
Yes, basically.
Okay.
But,
got it.
But it's internal. Yeah. But I don't know, that's the kind of feeling I get from their games, and it's ubiquitous. It's throughout all of them. So it definitely, they have a feel when I sit down and play their game.
Awesome. So I had a chance to play a game that I'd been wanting to play for a long, long time, and I always had the feeling that I would hate it, but I still wanted to play it, regardless.
Oh, really?
So this is Werewolf.
Oh.
So, you always hear about Werewolf all the time.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's talking about it. They're always coming out with a new expansion, whatever.
A new spin.
A new spin on it, exactly. So I've always been curious with Werewolf. Huge party game. It always looked like a game that was stupid to me. And I was just like, how can this possibly be fun? So I wanted to give it a try. When I was at Otafest, they had a special version of Werewolf that they were running, Sailor Moon Werewolf.
My wife would have been... in there in a second.
Really? Does she like Sailor Moon?
Oh, she loves Sailor Moon.
Oh, that's hilarious. So it's basically Werewolf, except they swapped out all the characters in the game with characters from Sailor Moon. Yeah. So all the werewolves are these Yumi, these anime Japanese demons. Yeah. And then you have all the Sailor Scouts and Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask and all the different people, the Zoisite and all these different people. So we go in and we sit down to play this game. It was a 45-person game, I think. So there were just tons.
Man, there's some sports games that don't have that many players. Can you imagine people trying to play soccer with 45 people? It might actually be exciting to watch then.
Soccer's pretty exciting.
Oh, I don't find it exciting at all.
It's better than basketball. But anyways.
Anywho.
So we went in and we played this game of, me and my wife, we went and played this game of Sailor Moon Werewolf. So, oh man.
How was it?
It was probably, I think it's my new number one worst board game experience.
Really?
It was the most boring thing I've ever done in my life.
What was that game that you played the other day that isn't supposed to be played with a lot of people, and then someone was getting mad at you? Oh, man. I can't remember that. Anyways, I'll try and remember
Think about it. Anyway, so we go in, we sit down in this large group. The guy starts explaining the game of Werewolf. Now, I've seen a couple of videos, so I know how it all works. He does probably the worst job of explaining this game. He doesn't explain it. He just kind of starts going into roles and what they do, but he doesn't explain what the objective of the game is. He doesn't go through the phases of the game. It's just like, here's the characters and here's what they can do. Well, that means nothing to me if I don't know what we're doing, right? So he does this horrible job of explaining it. He was obviously the type of person that is uncomfortable in large groups as well.
Probably not the right person to be involved in a 45-person game.
Not at all. So they have a ton of new people that have never ever even heard of Werewolf. They've never played the game before. They didn't know what board games were other than Monopoly.
But they knew Sailor Moon.
It's an anime convention. So people are like, oh yeah, let's try this out. So we go in and the guy takes forever going through the phases of this game, like actual gameplay once we start going. And they extend it and they make mistakes. And then people get bored, and so people just started getting up and leaving. So these events where you're supposed to have like
at the end
one person die at the end of every night, we were having like 5 people die because people were just like bored, nothing's happening, they were just getting up and leaving. Well, that means that all the characters, there's different numbers of specialty characters that are in the game that need to be in the game, and they're dying because those people got up and left.
Right.
So now they had to change the rules.
Oh, my word.
So they're trying to change the rules. They're trying to figure out on the fly how things work. How things are going to work now that this new thing happens. It was... Oh, my gosh.
A half hour into it, you realize that all the werewolves have left.
A half hour into it, only we were on round 1 still. Half an hour in.
So how long did it take total? Like, how long were you playing this
game?
Well,
we played for an hour and a half, 90 minutes. And we went through 3 rounds, I think, in 90 minutes.
Oh, man.
I think we totally... Like, if you were playing the game actually, like an actual game of Werewolf, we probably killed about 5 people of the 45 in that 90 minutes. The rest of them just got up and left.
And so what was the big climax? How did the game end?
The game ended with, we're out of time. We're going to count up how many people are left on each side, and whichever side has more people wins.
But isn't like the whole point that there's fewer werewolves than...
Yeah, so I think so, yeah. So the Sailor Moon team won.
A very satisfying end.
Yeah. So 90 minutes of sitting there, doing nothing. And then, like, you're supposed to talk, and you're supposed to converse in between rounds and discuss... who do you think is a werewolf and talk to people, but they didn't really tell anyone to do that. And people are just kind of sitting around talking to the person to their side, to the left and right. Some people are just sitting there watching, doing nothing. It was just a mess.
Well, I heard that a moderator could make or break that game. Maybe if you just played with the right moderator.
And I think you can't play with that many people.
Right.
And I think playing with all these specialty specialty characters. Like there was people there who had never even played Sailor Moon. They played Werewolf. They knew what Werewolf was. They didn't know what Sailor Moon was. So they didn't know who these characters were that were being handed around.
Yeah.
You have these like 20 specialty people who you have no idea what they do.
Right.
Like, and it doesn't matter. It was the worst experience. Worst experience.
I'm glad I didn't have to go through that.
Yeah.
You went through it for us. I got a chuckle.
And that's what I kind of felt like it would be.
Right.
But
now you know.
Now I know. Now I know to stay away from everything werewolf.
Yeah. And that's, the first impression of a game is sometimes, whether it be played in the right setting or the bad setting, your first impression of a game sometimes can just ruin a game for you.
Yeah.
Like you never want to come back to it.
Yeah.
Like you, even if it's someone taught you wrong or had a bad moderator. Like, are you ever, if someone's like, hey, we're playing Werewolf, are you ever going to want to jump in on that group ever again?
No, like, it would depend on the group size. If it was maybe a 10-person game, I'd probably do it.
Right.
I'd probably jump in on a game just because then I would be able to see what the game was actually like in maybe a comfortable setting, and you would actually have faster turns of the game. And you can kind of communicate with everyone at the table in a 10-player game. When you have a 45-person game and you can only reach, 3 people to your left and right because the circle is the size of a gymnasium, it's like, what are you going to do? Am I going to run across or yell to the other side of the table to talk to someone over there? And like,
no, definitely not.
So, yeah, it was a hot mess, something that I would never do in that size again, but I'd be willing to give it a try in like an 8 to 12 player game of Werewolf. I might give it one last shot.
Do you think that it would go better with a group of people who knew each other already, or like strangers?
Yes. No, I think it goes better with people that you know.
Yeah.
Just because then you can kind of pick up on the nuances of what they're saying, how they're talking, how they're looking around.
Right.
You're going to have an idea where someone you don't know, you're clueless.
Right. Yeah, I remember we played The Resistance before with a couple people you had over.
Yep.
And like I had never met them before, and we're doing these missions and they fail, and then like one person was involved, and I'm like, you're the spy or whatever.
Yeah,
like, you're definitely not. And like she was very offended. How come you can't believe me? Like I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is the point of the game. I'm actually the spy.
Exactly, right.
I'm just trying to divert attention to you.
Yeah, I don't know. It was an experience.
There you go.
There you go.
I mean, that's what gaming is about, right? Is experiences.
Yeah.
Hopefully the good ones outweigh the negative.
For the most part, they do, yeah.
Yeah.
So far. We'll see. If I keep playing bad games, that might change.
Well, I played another game, quite a bit, actually, recently, and I've taught it to a few new people. They've had nothing but good experiences with it. Some good memories came out of playing it.
That's nice.
We still there were a couple things when we talk to each other now. Like we have like inside jokes even from it, and like we just laugh out loud and stuff like that. And that's Codenames.
Nice.
So I've taught it to a few new people. Everyone I taught it to really really enjoyed it, and it's kind of like a board game that isn't actually a board game, because like there isn't like mechanics in it that like worker placement and stuff like that. It's just words association. So you don't need to know anything about a board game to play. But yeah, oh man, some of the clues that people were giving, and like especially when you're like 4 behind, and you gotta reach. And
that's my favorite time.
Yeah, and then so there was one country out on the board.
Right.
Only one. And he was like, oh, like I don't know what to say for this one thing. So he says pour 1. I'm like, what is this? And I'm looking and I'm like, what is this going to? And I see Greece. There.
See Greece?
Yeah, Greece, because they have that financial like ruined basically.
Right.
So I was like, is this honestly what he's going for? And I'm like, okay, I point out. He's like, okay, yeah, you got it. I'm like, why didn't you say country? He's like, well, Europe was out there. I didn't want to confuse you. I'm like, Europe's a continent.
Nice.
Oh, but now, yeah, every time I see him, I'm like, poor one.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah, and there's so many little things like that. Every now and again, you get this one clue that's just completely outrageous. And it's hilarious.
Yeah, that's my favorite part, because you get so far behind, the other team can just give this one clue, this direct clue, like, poor one, because there's only one possible answer, yeah. Right? And then you have like 4 or whatever that you need to give a clue for. So they're going to win next round or in 2 rounds because they're ahead. So you have to catch up.
Yeah.
Which means you need to give a clue that matches everything on the board, or as much as possible.
You have to go for the essence
exactly.
of the word. This has nothing to do with the actual thing, but the essence of it.
Arabian 3.
Yeah.
Or was it 4? I don't remember.
And there was one, he was trying to link two words together, and he said juice too. So there was orange out there, right. And I was like, okay, orange. Natural, and then I was looking around, I was like, I have no idea. And then I was like going through a couple of the words. I'm like, server. I'm like, well, a server could serve juice to you. And I was going through a couple different other ones, but I didn't pick server. I ended up getting wrong. But at the end of the game, he was like, you were saying it. I meant for you to pick server. I'm like, dude, that's so random.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, so funny. So funny. Cool. And really, that highlights one of the best things for gaming is creating memories.
Yeah.
Right? You get together with a group of friends. You have these, have a laugh, create these memories that you can talk about, for a long time.
Right.
Well, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I have a ton of games that I've played. I'm just gonna name a couple more here, but to go off of party games. So to go from Werewolf, I went to a board game event here in town. Which you'll hear about more in the main topic. Our special guest interview is going to talk about this event that I went to. But we got to play 2 Rooms and a Boom. Yeah. So this is a large game where the more players you have, the better it is, I guess, supposedly. Right. I'm not big into these social party games.
Okay.
So
what do you mean by social party games?
So in 2 Rooms and a Boom, there's 2 teams. There is the presidential team, who has the president, and he had, depending on how many players you have, there's like a doctor who has a medical prescription for the president, and you have spies, and you have security officers, and so on and so forth. Then you have the other team, which is like the what do you call them? The terrorist team.
Right.
So they have a bomber, and they have a mechanic, and they have security as well, and stuff like that. So you got these 2 teams. Everyone is randomly dealt cards from this giant deck. So everyone gets 1 card. Some of the cards are very basic, and it'll say you're on the red team. Okay. And that's the terrorist team. And then another one will say you're on the blue team. So you're just a nobody, but you're on that team, right? So everyone gets these cards, and then there's a few specialty cards. Then you get randomly split up into 2 rooms. So half of the group goes in one room, half goes in the other, and it's a mix of both teams.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Then you have to start talking to people and trying to figure out what team they're on and who they are.
So just before you go any further,
sure.
This reminds me, if you don't clearly explain to people that they're actually playing a game.
Yeah.
Like the time we were playing Spyfall, and you were asking a question of someone, and you're like, "What's your favorite Muppet?" He's like Fozzie Bear. Because he literally answered not to give a hint that he was... He just answered with literally his favorite Muppet. So you're split up in these 2 rooms. And I was like, so what are you doing here? Oh, I just came to play games.
Okay. Well, in that scenario, he did know how to play the game, but he just heard the question and just answered it without thinking about how it pertained to the situation we were in. He was just like, "Oh, Fuzzy Bear."
Yeah, maybe he thought you were just asking him, like, you were just curious.
I was just like, "Is that your actual answer?" Yeah. And then he started laughing. He was like, "Well, that was just like real answer." That's great, thanks.
That's funny.
That's very helpful.
So anyways, back to this 2 rooms and a boom.
So 2 rooms and a boom. 2 random teams that are all mixed up together. No one knows who's who. Like, you don't even know the people on your own team.
Right.
And you all get split up into these 2 rooms. And you have to converse with each other. And you can just talk to people. But you can also share information. There's 2 ways you can share. One is you can share color. So everyone has a card that says who they are, and it has like a color shown in the corner of the card.
Right.
It will say, red team or blue team, and have a color there. So colorblind people can still see because you can show them the team name.
Right.
But you can say, hey, let's do a color share as you're talking to someone. And you cover up your card so that you can just see the color and that's it. And you both reveal at the same time to each other. And that way you can find out, okay, is someone on my team or is someone on the opposite team?
Right.
Now you can kind of sneak around the group, around the room, and you can peek over people's shoulders as they're sharing information, and that way you can get more information from them without actually having to show anything. But you can also do a full share. Ooh. So the full share is you just reveal your card completely, and they reveal their card completely, and you show. And those are the only 2 ways that you can share information. You can't do a halfway. You can't go, okay, well, show me your color first, and then I'll do this. It's you both commit to showing the full card or just the color. Now, there's also a spy for each team, and the spy will say you're on the opposite colored team, but on your actual card it says you're on the other team. So you can do like a color share, and then you can try and get information.
You've gone in their confidence. They're, you're on my team.
Exactly. So what you're trying to do, the objective of the game here, is the terrorist team wants to get their bomber in the same room as the president. So you're going to converse in these 2 different rooms for 3 minutes. Then there's going to be a team leader who is going to send 3 hostages to the other room.
Right.
And that goes for both groups. So you have a swap of 3 people.
Right.
And you're trying to figure out where the president is. You're trying to figure out where the bomber is. The bomber wants to be in the same room as the president. The president doesn't want to be in the same room as the bomber.
Right.
Right? So you're trying to gather information, and as you're trading and swapping, you want them to either end up in the same room or not in the same room.
Right.
At the end of the game, the bomb will go off, and if it's in the room with the president, the terrorists win. If it's not, the presidential team wins. There's a whole bunch of special abilities that activate as well. So you can add in special things like the doctor I was saying with the president. The president has to find the doctor and do a card share with the doctor to get his prescription so that he doesn't die at the end of the game. So he needs to find the doctor first. If he doesn't find the doctor, he automatically loses. So he needs to find the doctor, but also stay out of the room with the bomber. The bomber has a very similar thing. He needs to find the mechanic to arm the bomb before the bomb will go off, otherwise it won't go off. So you add in all these different little special things. But it's just a back and forth, sharing information, trying to get information to pass off to the people who need to know that information. And if your team wins, then you win, and if not...
It seems like a very, very hard game.
Yeah. It's extremely hard to get information.
Yeah,
because you need to get people to trust you.
Yeah, just sharing your color isn't enough.
No, that doesn't really give you anything other than let you know if they're on the same team as you. But even then, they could be the spy.
Right. Yeah, and I think that if you didn't have those mechanic or doctor, why would the bomber ever show his full card?
Right.
You're just I'm on.
Well, it's to get information from other people.
Right.
That's because he needs to find the president. If he can't find the president, then he doesn't know where to be. So he needs to prove that he's important so he can get information from other people who know that information.
So what does this game play up to? Like, how many people?
I think it's unlimited. I don't know.
And like,
the game box that we played a 34 player game.
A 34 player game.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And
that's a lot of people.
Yeah. And then I think there was probably maybe it goes to 40. Maybe it's 40. And I'm sure you could just buy a second pack and do more if you wanted.
80 people.
I don't know. But yeah, it's a large player count. It was interesting to play once. We ended up playing it 3 times. I played all 3 just because I didn't want to be the downer guy that's like, yeah, no, I'm done. I'm going to sit out. So we played it 3 times. It was fine enough.
Were you like the bomber or the president in any of them?
No. That we played with, so there's also the angel and the demon on both teams. The angel always has to tell the truth.
Right.
So if you get information and someone asks you specifically for something, you always have to tell the truth. The demon always has to lie.
Right.
So the demon was actually probably the funnest thing to do.
Yeah.
Because I would just go and I would tell people like ridiculous things, and then they would like finally people on my team would realize, oh, he's the demon. Because I would like show them that I'm like, hey, let's do a color share, and we're both red, and then I'd be like, yeah, I'm on the blue team. And they'd be like, what? You know, they just think you're crazy or something because they've never played the game before.
Is he colorblind and also illiterate at the same time?
But yeah, so those were fun. There's a bunch of other specialty ones that were kind of unique. There's some neutral characters like the Gambler. The Gambler is neither red or blue team.
Okay.
He's a neutral, and he needs to pick which team's going to win at the end of the game.
Right.
So he's just trying to go around and get information so that he can decide at the end of the game which side's going to win, and if he's right, then he wins.
I don't think this is a game for me.
No, it's not a game for me either. But I'm glad I got to try.
And I don't necessarily think it's a bad game.
Right.
I'm just a really shy person.
Yeah, it was tough.
And like I like gaming most times because it's a small group. I do better in smaller groups.
Right.
Like 5, 6 people. That's okay. Things aren't getting crazy. I don't have to meet a whole lot of new people at once.
Right.
But man, being put into a situation where I have to interact like with 40 people.
Yeah.
And just I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Yeah. It was tough for a lot of people, but this was like a gaming event where no one really knew anyone.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect social experiment just to like get people talking, communicating. Then, okay, let's go play some games afterwards. And you feel like you kind of
broke the ice.
And you can sit down. The other great thing about this game was I didn't really talk fully about time limit. And it depends on how many rounds you're doing. But however many rounds you do, that round is that many minutes. So if you're doing a 5-minute round, 5 rounds, you have a 5-minute round and then 4-minute, 3, 2, and 1. Right. The first game we played was just 3 rounds, so it was 3, 2, 1, 6-minute game.
Wow. And with like that many people.
And you have to, so you talk. You get information as much as you can in 3 minutes, and then at the end of that 3 minutes, you're swapping people.
Like, it must have been hectic.
Yeah, it was very hectic.
Like, you just run, hey, do you want to do color share? Yeah. Color share, okay, I gotta go. And then you're like, hey, you want to do color share? Okay. Oh, do you want to do a full share? Hey, let's do a full share.
Yeah, exactly. But you get all the information within that first round, pretty much. Like, know everyone's color, at least. Pretty much by that first round, because you're just running from person to person, finding out what colors are who's what color, and then from that point, okay, now I need to try and manipulate their identity out of them, unless you're getting switched to the other room, in which case now there's a whole bunch of fresh faces, new people to talk to, get information from. But it was, not for me.
Yeah,
it was fine. Better than my werewolf experiment by far. Experience.
It's only like 6 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not an hour and a half.
Well, we spent like about 45 minutes playing total because we did the 3 rounds and the rounds extended. But
that's not too bad.
Yeah,
that's not too bad though.
Yeah, pretty good.
So what else?
Well, I got to meet what's his name? Paul, I want to say Saxton.
Right.
Saxberg. From
Roxley Games.
Roxley Games, thank you. It was on the tip of my tongue, and I was just like trying to think of his last name, and I forgot the company name. Roxley Games. So they did Santorini, they did Steampunk Rally,
Right.
and they had one other game that he was telling me about that I hadn't heard of. But anyways, I met him at Odafest. He was at the games area. Random encounter. He asked me to play a game, and I was like, no, I'm doing some recording for our board game channel. And he was like, oh, you have a board game channel. Here's my information. We need to talk. We need to do this stuff. So anyways, after I was done my recording, I talked to him, and I convinced him to bring a prototype copy of Santorini down to the game convention on the following day.
Right.
So I actually got to sit down and play Santorini, which was a Kickstarter from a couple months ago.
That was the one where it was like seconds to learn.
Yeah, seconds to learn and years to master, something
right,
like that. And it's this crazy 3D game, abstract style. It was a really fun game. I had a blast playing it. I played a couple games, did a 2-player game and a 3-player game of it. Lot of fun.
You have like a character, and you have to get him to like the 3rd level
Exactly.
of the building.
Yeah.
And you can either move him or build up a building.
Yeah,
something
so
like that.
it's basically like a chessboard, a bit smaller. And you have your character, and you have to move them one space to an adjacent. It can be diagonal as well.
Right.
After you've done that move, you put down one layer of land. So it's either on the base level or anything adjacent to you. It can be on a higher tier. If you're building on top of another place, once it gets to the 4th tier, it's blocked off and you can no longer move onto that space. It's locked down. Your objective is to get to the 3rd tier. And you can only go up one level every time. So you go from the ground, and then you need to step up onto a bigger tile, step up onto another one, and then onto the 3rd one, and then you win the game. But then there's player special abilities as well, which give each time you play, you have unique characters. Right. And I think there must have been like 30 different characters with unique special abilities. Lots of crazy things that are happening, and they all interact differently with one another as well. So running around this board, I think the first game I played with my wife, I won in about 3 minutes.
Nice.
Something like that.
At least you're winning some games.
Yeah. And then we played a 3-player game, which was very interesting. I actually liked the 3-player game more because there was more going on, more to worry about. You had to take care of 2 different people at the same time.
Yeah.
Very cool game. I had a blast playing it.
I'm always torn. Well, not really. I'm not really torn.
I'm not torn at all.
That's a complete lie. In those types of games, and we kind of had a similar discussion about it with Ashes the other day.
Okay.
You know, in those types of games where adding more people adds more chaos, and you know, in a 2-player, it's kind of head to head. Right. You know, back and forth. You're just trying to outwit one other person, and you can you see the moves they're about to make, and you can try and block them. So I agree. Yeah, you get more people and things get a bit more chaotic and there's a lot more going on. But I kind of like the other side of the coin with lower player, and it's more of a battle of wit and skill. Yeah. In a game like that.
Yeah, I just felt it was too simple with 2 players.
Right.
And it wasn't that it was like super easy. There was that tactical move. It was very chess-like. You know, I move here, okay, these are your options, these are my options. I'm going to move here to counter and do that. Back and forth, it was fine. But then you add in that 3rd person, and now, okay, I need to worry about your ability, but I also need to worry about his ability, and I can't have him move up to the top.
Right.
And when I make a play, I need to make sure, okay, this play is stopping you, but is it helping him?
Right.
So it just added more to be aware of in the game,
it all
and
depends
I was just engaged fully.
It all depends on how much there is to keep track of,
right?
As well, like we played Onitama,
right?
And I was a little worried that even 2-player like with all the different moves that you can make. I was like, I don't know how easy it would be to kind of see all the possible moves.
Right.
Like, because in an abstract game, you don't want it to be chaos, like
No.
complete chaos. You want to be able to control it and manipulate the board state into your favor. So as long as you can still do that,
Yeah. I wouldn't say that it was chaotic with 3 people. It was just there was more to manage.
right?
And I enjoyed that extra level of difficulty.
Then I could be on board with that then.
The one other thing was with that 3-player game, Paul was actually playing this really crazy powered character where it was uniquely abstract. His ability was abstract on top of the game. Like,
So this is like abstraction.
yeah, exactly. So
That's so good.
so you can move to adjacent squares, you can build on your adjacent squares, and you're on this kind of chessboard style square board. His ability was the board wraps around itself. So it was more of a globe to him, and he can move from the edge of the board on the right over to the edge on the board on the left. So he walks across.
Right.
Where it got interesting was when he was on a corner piece, he can walk diagonally that way and come across the board over here. He can walk over here, which puts him here. And like he could end up on 3 different areas, or he could be on any corner of the board when he's standing in one corner.
Right.
Which it was hard to wrap your head around where he could move to.
Yeah.
And then you're adding that on top of, depending on the level that he is standing on, he can move to other levels.
Right.
On the different corners of the board.
So he just confused you to the point where he was going to win.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, I can't, my brain can't process this.
Exactly. He ended up winning because I didn't see a move that he could do.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard to explain how that ability works. You need to see it.
And even then, you don't.
And even then, you're just like trying to manage that on top of building up and stopping two different people at the same time. It was, yeah.
So do you think this will be a game that you'll pick up if it comes to retail?
If the price point is right.
Right.
The one thing the reason why I didn't kickstart it in the first place was the price point was quite high. I believe it was 65 Canadian dollars for a small, simple abstract game. And the pieces are fantastic. It looks great.
Right.
But is it, like, I would think an abstract game like that, to me, is maybe worth like $20 to $30.
Right.
That's kind of my price range for a simple abstract. So we'll see what happens. Maybe if I get it in a trade, get it on sale.
Right.
It's a game I would like to have, even to play with my nieces and nephews, to play with my wife.
Right.
It was a lot of fun. But do I think it's worth that much? It's hard to say.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that, and I'm appreciative of Paul from Roxley Games for bringing that down to the convention. That was super nice of him.
So, do you have anything else?
I got lots, but
I have
move on.
I have a new segment that I want to.
Ooh, okay, let's do it.
So a lot of people, they do this. What have you been playing lately?
Right.
Well, we do it too.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Get to see what the flavor of the week is for us.
Sure. Where are you going with this?
But what's the flavor of next week?
What are we going to be playing next week?
Yeah. What are you looking forward to playing, or what do you want to get played?
Oh, cool. Okay.
So that's my idea for a new short segment.
All right. Start us off. Scythe.
Yes.
we already did this.
It's a crossover. That shows that, hey, we like this game. Not only have we been playing it,
right,
but we still
want to play it.
We still want to play it.
Okay.
But man, I have so many new games.
Oh, I know.
And so little time to play them. But I want to get these games played. So recently, I just did another board game order, and before that, I had done another pretty big board game order.
Right.
So I have Arkwright, that I want to play as kind of the English Industrial Revolution. Mm-hmm. A very heavy game, from what I hear.
It only has 4 rule books.
3. Let's be fair. But yeah, the rule books are pretty big. So
I don't understand why there's multiple rule books.
Well, there's I think a strategy component guide to the game that's like 30 pages. Then there's there's two variants. There's the Spinning Jenny is the introductory version of the game.
Okay.
So that has its own rule book. Then it has the Water Frame, which is the more advanced version of the game.
Right. So they couldn't just like make one rule book and put in the extra expansion
I'm
material?
assuming when we go to learn how to play this, we will understand why. But yeah, that rule book is jam packed. But I'm excited to get into
read the rule book.
To read the rule book. Maybe not so much as excited for that, but to play it for sure. Also got Kemet, which I've been toying around for like a year and a half. To get, and I was like, okay, finally it came back in stock online. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get it, and I'm gonna play it. So I wanna play that as well.
Rodney's always talking about that, so I've been eager to play it, but I've never.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of reviewers who just talk about Kemet and how great it is.
Secret Ball too. I think they really like it.
So
yeah, I'm eager to give it a try. I think it'll be an interesting game at the very least.
Yeah. So those are a couple of the games that I'm looking forward to playing. Oh,
cool.
Also Food Chain Magnate.
Right.
Magnate. Proper pronunciation here of games.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard someone say Kemet weird the other day, and it's like the other game by Matago Games, Cyclades.
Right.
Cyclades,
sure, yeah.
Cyclades.
Yeah. I was talking with a friend of mine that runs a board game store, and I had him over to play a couple games, and he was saying the weirdest names too. For games. I was so confused.
When we had the David over for the interview the other day, and he was like, Agricola?
Yeah.
Like,
my friend, he calls it Agricola.
I've heard that pronunciation. Yeah. Do you know what's actually interesting is that Scythe actually tells you how to pronounce the name of the game in the rulebook.
Awesome. Love it.
Like, they thought of everything for that game.
Yeah, what were we talking about earlier where you were saying they thought of everything?
It was Scythe.
Yeah, but it was the mission cards all have numbers. Yeah. So that you can ask online and be like, hey, it's number...
Yeah, I have a question about encounter card number 25.
Right.
And then you can specifically reference the card rather than say, I have a question about the card that has the bear looking longingly into the distance.
Well, I think the problem is people will quote the card, but they'll shorthand it.
Right.
And so then they're missing keywords, and people will start interpreting it different ways because of the shorthand.
Yeah.
Where it might say may, but they put it as and or something like that. And
yeah, I think another game that I heard a lot of people get up in arms about the pronunciation was Signore.
Okay.
Like some people were saying, I don't even know if that's the correct pronunciation.
Signori,
Signoria. I don't know. Sign-ori. It's a board game about making signs.
Yeah,
you need to make signs for all these different businesses to attract customers.
Right.
That's the next genre of a game that's going to be big.
Well, anyways, we are excited to play Kemet. A little bit later this week.
Yeah, hopefully. And a couple really heavy games. That's the thing about heavy games is, though, you kind of need to spread them out a little bit because they are very, very taxing on the mind. I still don't think we've recovered from Madeira.
Yeah, no. I don't know. That game was like so heavy for me.
But we did finish the game.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people...
I think we played it right, too. I don't feel like there was anything we did wrong when we played it. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people, they tried playing it and they didn't make it through a full game.
Really?
Of Madeira. But at least we got through one game. Now we're just...
I didn't feel like it was that tough.
Oh, my brain hurt.
Like it hurt, but like why...
I don't know.
I didn't feel like it was complicated as I couldn't figure out what to do and how things worked. It was, there are so many options.
Yes.
That I didn't know what was the best option, and then I played something and it turned out that was going to be a mistake in my next action because I did this, now I can't do this over here, and then I don't have enough resources
So imagine if you just have like analysis paralysis in your team, and then it's like 4 hours later, you're like, guys, let's finish the first round.
Yeah.
Just do something.
But I don't know.
Can you please take your first action?
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
So games that I'm excited for, or that I'm looking forward to playing in the near future. I recently did a board game order as well. Ooh. But it's a pre-order. It's part of a pre-order, so I'm not getting it until this one game comes in. They're not going to ship it out.
Right.
So I did the pre-order for Mystic Vale, which obviously I'm excited for that.
Yep.
But I also added on for you the Rococo expansion that just came out.
It's time for some jewelry.
I'm almost more excited for that expansion than I am for Mystic Vale. But yeah, I actually went and I watched a review of the expansion, and it looks really cool. It looks like it adds quite a bit of new stuff. So
nice.
I'm pumped about it.
Yeah.
It gives you a whole new little board. You can level up your characters. So your journeymen or your apprentices can become journeymen. Your journeyman can then advance to a master. And those characters that level up, they basically have special abilities on them.
Nice.
So you can purchase a specific leveled up character with a unique power on it, which is very cool. And they seem really powerful. Like you can level up your apprentice to get 3 points every time you play him down. Yeah. So that's pretty awesome.
The thing that I would like to come, if they ever make another Rococo expansion,
right?
This is what I want.
Okay.
Is a score track.
Yeah.
Not victory point chits.
Right.
Like, I understand that it's supposed to be secret. How much? Well, you can have victory point chits, so you keep it secret. But at the end of the game, rather than having to score and be like, oh, you get 8 points? Okay, well, we don't have any more ones left, so can you trade in your... You're not, like, give me back 2 ones, I'll give you a 10. And then it's like, okay, well, you scored 7? Well, okay, we're out of ones again. Let's trade in this. And then it's just trade in. Oh, I'm swapping these for a 20. And it's just, keep like, you're not earning that many points during the game, like 6 or 7 or something like that. Just at the end of the game, reveal that on the score track. I got 7 points, and then start adding it up after that. That's the expansion I want.
I don't want that expansion.
Rococo, the scoring track.
I just print something off, man.
I know, but still.
Like, just go online, print off a little... You can print off the season's score track, and you can use that.
Talk about bad score tracks. Like, okay. It's literally...
And then we can transfer our points 1 for 1.
Okay, so there's a couple things here. Number one, I think one of the funniest things in the game seasons is the fact that during the game you're earning these things called crystals.
Right.
Crystals. And then in the rulebook at the end of the game, you're to convert your crystals at a 1-to-1 ratio to prestige points. Why? Why not just call it prestige points or crystals the entire time?
Yeah.
Like, why convert it to prestige points? Is it a theme thing? Probably. Like...
Yeah, it's... Yeah.
And the other thing is that score track is the worst score track that has ever been created in the history of gaming.
That we know of. It's really bad.
It goes 0 to 100. Oh, that's great. It's not, it's super small. So the wooden cubes that you keep track of, no 2 people can be on the same square, so you have to stack up these little wooden cubes. Mm-hmm. Heavens forfend if that tower of cubes topples over.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, I need to gain 10 points. It's easy, like because it's in lines up the sheet.
Yeah.
I just go up, the same place from where I am. Go up one row.
Yeah.
No, because there's 5 numbers on the first row, 6 numbers on the next, and then it goes up weird, and then like it's so ridiculous.
It's actually 8 and then 9.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
8, 9, 10, 10, 10, 10.
If they were going to do
know.
that, have 10 rows of 10. That would have made it so much easier. They made the board a weird shape, so it couldn't do that. So it makes counting up your points stupid.
It's ridiculous.
That's a rant.
Yeah. But yeah. I've lost track of what we were even talking about. Rococo. I don't want to see that as an expansion for Rococo. I don't want a score track. I'd rather want like some content.
Well, you can put content in with it.
Yeah, but then I'm paying for a scoreboard.
I know. I'm just saying.
That's
just one.
But it's a little fiddly, maybe. Sure.
Yeah, like if they came out with that actual expansion, I probably wouldn't buy it. But
that's what you want.
Yeah, I wish that the game had a.
You want them to give you a free expansion.
Yeah, say
Here's
sorry.
a free upgrade kit.
Sorry,
everyone who owns the game.
Sorry, we messed up.
Right.
Like that's one thing. Like you think about some games, like during the playtesting.
Right. How
did no one say this is annoying? Like at the end of the game, this is just what we could probably do a little better. And it wouldn't have been that hard. Wouldn't have been that hard to do at all.
No, not really.
Yeah, but I can kind of see why they didn't, because there is some like iconography on the outside of the board, like especially over where you hire the employees. I don't know. I think they could have done it, but anyways.
Yeah, you're back. You're back on Rococo. It took me a second. I thought you were still talking about seasons.
Oh, no.
I was like, what? There's characters around the board? What?
But yeah, Rococo is a great game.
Awesome game. I'm excited for that expansion.
Your number 1 game.
My number 1 game. Shh.
Yeah.
People may not have seen my top 25 list.
Well,
Rococo's number 1.
It's been out for like a couple months.
Yeah.
Spoilers abound.
Spoilers. Yeah, that's my favorite game. It's awesome. I'm super stoked about this expansion because it looks like it adds a lot of great stuff to it.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I'm excited to play.
Any of the new games that I got other than Kemet?
K-Meat? I don't know. Whatever. I'm actually excited to play Shipyard, which I don't really know much about, but just from what I've heard on Secret Cabal and what you mentioned, it just seems like it's a cool game.
Yeah, but man, it's so hard to play games.
Yeah.
Like it's
hard to keep on top of the new, get content for the channel, and then play stuff we still want to play.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act.
We need to switch over to the Men in Black 36-hour days.
Okay.
So we can get it done.
Sure.
Let's
just do that.
Just do that.
Pull some all-nighters. But so our problem actually isn't that we don't have enough time. It's that we don't play games. Like, I came over today. We had, I don't know, how long have I been here? 12 hours now?
Yeah.
And we've played 4 games.
That's just because you're playing Plants vs. Zombies. I'm like, hey Jake, let's play a game. What? Games?
Well, yeah, I played it for like 45 minutes while I was here. So I need a breather in between some games. I need to win at something. Yeah. And I couldn't even win at that today.
You just feel so downtrodden.
But so generally what happens is we'll sit down and we'll be like, okay, what do you want to play? I don't know. What do you want to play? And then we'll just forget about games altogether, and we'll just talk about the channel. We'll talk about other content providers. We'll talk about this and that. Yeah. And then we'll be like, oh, what do you want to play? I don't know. What do you feel like playing? And then we'll go back to talking again.
And then, like, there was one time we had, like, a 2-hour conversation on the difference between Ameritrash Trash and Euro games.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, man, we should have recorded that. Well, too late now. That was 2 hours gone.
Yeah. Yeah, that was such a good conversation too. I
Yeah.
so wish we had recorded that. That would have been perfect for the podcast.
Yeah, it's just, and it comes down to when you only had 10 games in your collection, it was really easy. It's like, okay, well, this is the options. What do you feel like playing? But when you have so many games,
Yeah.
you're like, well, what do you want to play? And then you're like, well, let me spend a half hour looking at the games.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's that.
That's that.
Should we move on to our next segment?
Absolutely.
To sizzling hot.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, we should
if
do
you
that.
just, it's like with children, if you just ignore what they're doing, eventually they'll just stop.
Stop doing it.
Yeah, let's certainly move on to that segment.
Okay, so the first thing for me, I'll start us off here. A game called Horrific. And what's really horrific about this game is the artwork and components.
Oh, really?
This game looks like it's straight out of the 60s.
I gotta find this now.
Someone said, hey, we need a great idea for a game. And the other person was like, I have a better idea than coming up with a great idea. Let's go back, travel back to the 60s, find some game, and we will just print it. A game that never got made. We will print it. So
is that actually what happens?
I don't know. I honestly, I didn't look any further than the art and reading some of the card text.
Right.
Because it was so bad.
I can't find it, so maybe they just stopped.
Maybe they were just like, you know what? This is a horrible idea. Let's not even do this anymore. I'll just take a quick look, see if I can find it for Jeff so I can show him.
Because artwork is something that gets me excited about games. So bad artwork.
Like, oh man, it was so brutal. Here it is. It's in my... So it's not on the hotness anymore. It was. That's how I found it.
Right.
But I guess it stopped.
Oh my word.
So it's like black and white photography of like... I don't even know. Is it photography? Is it art?
Art is subjective.
Like...
anything can be art.
All the components are also black and white.
Oh, man.
With like cursive text that's hard to read.
If you want to get someone into gaming, never show them this game.
Like it looks horrible, and I've read like some of the card text, and the game just doesn't seem like there's a game there.
Right.
So I'm glad that it's not on the hotness anymore. But that's how I found it a couple days ago. So
Right.
people were looking at it. And now I've just opened it up, so it's going to show back up on the hotness again because people are clicking on it.
Nice.
But yeah, that's horrific. Don't bother looking at it.
Or if you want...
Or if you want a good laugh, you can check out Horrific.
there you go.
There you go.
That was pretty cool.
So brutal. Like, how does a game like that get made?
I don't know.
Maybe it's not made. Maybe they're just like, hey, these are our prototypes, fund us.
Right.
And people are like, no. And they're like, okay, bad idea. Let's just stop.
Oh, yeah. The BGG hotness list is interesting. Like, I was thinking when I was looking at it today about the evergreen games that are always on the hotness.
The evergreen. Oh,
like they're
okay.
always on the hotness list. Like, I mean, ever since I started looking basically at BGG, like Agricola is always on there.
I see Marvel Legendary is always on there too. Legendary, the Marvel deck building. It hasn't left in forever, and I think it's just because it's a nice gateway game.
Yeah. But what do you think, like, because for some games, like, what am I thinking? I think Netrunner was also on there for a long time. So you can kind of understand, okay, people have rules questions maybe, so they're always going back to the page.
Yeah.
But, like, some of these games are, like Blood Rage. Like, it's still on the hotness list probably now 8 months longer.
People looking up expansions to see, okay, I've played the base game, I like that.
Right.
What expansions are out? So I think games that have lots of expansions are going to be on the hotness a lot because of that.
Right.
Just people want to see what's new, what should I be getting now that I'm done with this.
Yeah, like
to upgrade my game.
Because some things you definitely see, like, so most people got their Scythe games like recently.
Yeah.
So that shot up is now on the top of the list. That makes sense. Or some game just came out on Kickstarter or was just released. So you see those jump up, like Star Trek Frontiers.
Yeah.
That recently just came out. So now that's up on the top. But some of these games that have just been steady, always there, like Star Wars Imperial Assault. Again, I can kind of understand that one.
Well, that one's still fairly new. Imperial Assault's only been out for like how many?
2 years, man, I think almost.
2 years?
Yeah.
Already? I thought it was just a year.
No, I think it was 2014. But yeah.
Wow.
Well, and Descent, Journeys in the Dark.
Yeah, but that's another one where expansions are constantly coming out.
Yeah.
Like, they constantly have these lieutenant packs that are coming out all the time.
Seven Wonders, that is not a new game.
Yeah, again, expansions constantly coming out.
Right.
There's, like, new ones that have just hit just recently.
Yeah, so it's interesting what's keeping these games on the list. Is it expansions? Is it...
I mean, I'm going to say that's part of it was the expansions. I think another part is these, at least with Seven Wonders, that's a game that is very entry friendly.
Right.
So lots of people who are new to the board gaming are going, oh, okay, what should I be playing? Maybe they talk to someone and they're like, oh yeah, Seven Wonders is an awesome game.
Right.
And so, okay, they go check that out, and then they're talking to their friends, oh, I heard about this game called Seven Wonders. Oh, what's that? And then they go look, and so you get all these people.
And I see another game there that I've already mentioned today, Terra Mystica.
Yeah.
Like that's not.
Yeah, that one's not expansion heavy.
No.
But that's what, number 3? I guess 3 on the list.
So I'm thinking
top games
too, if it has a very active forum, like if people are always posting either questions or things or even strategies for different games. Like I think if you have an active forum for a game, like some of these, you know, what we call evergreen games, think games that have been good and been proven to be good for a long time.
Yeah.
And they get an active forum, I think they're going to stay on the hotness list for a long time. These other ones that, you know, come in and out, these Kickstarters that come up, they shoot to the top, then a month later they're gone.
Right.
So it's definitely an interesting list. You can kind of see what the zeitgeist of the board gaming
zeitgeist
of the board gaming community is.
Is that an actual word?
Yeah, it's the spirit of the times. Zeitgeist.
Who says that?
I do, apparently. Oh my.
Okay.
I read a lot, so
there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
But yeah, you can kind of see there's these games that people are always looking at, and you can tell by they're staying steady, and some of them like you don't even hear a whole lot about otherwise. Like I was interested to see that Warhammer Quest, the adventure card game, is still on the hotness list. Like,
it's because people are mixing it up with the other.
Well, I thought
Warhammer one.
Yeah, Warhammer Quest Silver Tower.
Yeah.
That I heard so much about isn't even on the list anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's because everyone's getting mixed up with this one.
Everyone's getting mixed up.
Why is everyone talking about this adventure card game?
It's like the time when I asked for Alchemists for Christmas, but I accidentally asked for Alchemist.
Uh-huh.
And it just so happened that there was an Alchemist game. So they made a sale. It was actually interesting because I went to one of the friendly local game stores.
Sure.
And I noticed that they had 2 copies of Alchemist, like a 12-year-old game on their shelf. I'm like, I bet you they made the same mistake.
Yeah, they probably special ordered it in. Oh, man. I can't believe they still have 2 copies available for this hyped up game.
And speaking of friendly local game store, we were also having like memories around gaming. The time we went to the store and we asked them if they had the Imperial Settlers expansion, the most recent Imperial Settlers expansion. And they said, "Do you mean Imperial Assault or Settlers of Catan?"
No, neither.
And like Imperial Settlers, I think is a pretty big game.
Well, it was. Anyways, it was like hyped up that year.
Yeah, but man, like,
and they'd never even heard of it.
Never heard of it. Didn't even know it existed. Yeah. Imperial? Did you mean Imperial Assault or Settlers of Catan?
Oh, my bad. Settlers of Catan was what I was looking for.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, my goodness. But, you know.
So good.
I don't know. Maybe it was someone who just got into gaming and they're like, oh yeah, it'd be super fun to work at a game store.
Maybe.
You know. Who knows what the situation was with that guy, but it was a funny story.
Yeah. I'll never forget it. Like, I will be 80 years old.
Telling that story.
My nurse will be coming in to take care of me. And I'll be like, when I was a young man. Oh, man. So good.
So, did you have a game on the hotness to talk about?
No, I kind of just wanted to bring up about that, the trends that you see.
Sure.
In the hotness list.
Cool. Well, I'm going to cheat because I wasn't able to cheat in our main topic.
Right.
So I figured I would cheat with the hotness.
You're ridiculous.
And I'm talking about a game that is in my recently viewed, which is on Board Game Geek, just above.
You literally just did this. You said horrific, and I went to the hotness list, and it wasn't there. Like, are you sure that you were, like, looking this up and you were only looking at your recently viewed list? You're like, wow, man, like, the hotness list is really lining up with my taste right now.
This one actually has nothing to do with my taste.
Okay.
So, I was on Twitter.
So this segment is no longer the hotness list. So far.
Recently viewed.
So far, I've talked about games that are just good games and why they're always on the hotness list. And then you brought up one game that apparently
it was. That's how I found it.
Yeah, I'm sure. And now you're willingly willful attrition here. This is your segment. And you're bringing it down. You're just eating away at the foundation.
But, this is what I'm all about.
All right, so
people will learn to love it.
What?
So I was on Twitter, and
the cesspool.
Yes, Twitter, the cesspool.
Oh.
Okay, so there was a tweet that came out. It was Board Game Geek awards, some sort of awards from Board Game Geek. And they had a list of 5 games, and I was looking through, and 4 of them I knew and I thought were great games.
Right.
Those were Mombasa, Tricarion, Legends of Illusion, Voyages of Marco Polo, and Grand Austria Hotel.
All great games.
All great games. And then there was a game on there, on the list, I had never heard of.
And you're like, this game has to be amazing as well.
Basically, yeah. So I was like, I need to know more about this game. Why have I never heard of this before? And the game is called Lignum.
I think it's Lignum.
Lignum. It's Italian.
Oh, well.
And it means wood. But this game is about lumberjacks.
Nice.
So you are a lumberjack trying to be the best lumberjack and make the most money. And
well, okay. I will preface this by saying my brother is an actual lumberjack, and that is not a profession to go into to make money.
Okay. Good to know. I'm actually a little surprised by that. I thought they would make a lot of money because danger.
No.
No?
There's no money in cutting wood.
Really? That surprises me.
I know that, Hollywood glams it up and
what?
You think it's this awesome profession. All the kids are like, man, I just want to grow up to be a lumberjack.
Right.
Rolling in the dough.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
It's not.
So anyways, about this game. So I saw it on this list. I did research on it, and it looks interesting. I don't know that it sounds as good as these other games, but it's something that I I wanted to kind of promote a little bit so other people could hear about it. So
Well, pick this up so we can play it, man.
So the game essentially is there's a central board area where there's going to be trees
Yeah.
that you can chop down. And so every round there's new trees growing every season. So you can get older, different types of wood. And then there's like these, what do you call them? Orders that people are going to be saying, oh, I need this much free lumber general lumber. This I need X amount of cut wood into different types of lumber.
Right.
You start the round by going around this outer board, much like Murano, where you have these little spaces that you can stop at, and each space has a different action that you can get when you go there. Now, a lot of these spaces are the first person there gets the ability, and everyone else has to jump over them and they can't go on that spot. And then there's a couple of bigger, broader areas that can fit all the players, and it's kind of like a general thing that most people are going to need throughout the round.
Kind of sounds like Francis Drake.
I haven't played that one.
There's like a road that you travel on.
Right.
And you go as far along the road as you want, but once you go, you can never backtrack.
Exactly, yep.
On the road.
Yeah. So it's a similar thing, and you're picking up all the resources you're going to need throughout the round. You're picking up saws so you can cut down trees and form the lumber into the different materials that you need. You're getting, in wintertime, you need sleds to pull the lumber. During the summer and spring, you're going to need a raft on the river that you're going to throw everything onto and float it down the river. You're going to need different types of workers, so you're hiring different workers. You're going to need food to feed them, all this different stuff. So you're going around this track, and then once you get to the end, the first person back to the end of the line is first to pick in where they're going to go.
Yeah, you got to get up early to pick
Exactly.
the best spot to cut the wood.
So then you're moving into these areas, you're cutting down wood, getting this lumber, and then you bring it back to your camp on the following round, in the following round it's going to make it to your camp, and then you can start shaping it and whatnot, right? And fulfilling orders and building houses for lodging and having enough food and everything for the round. And then you just rinse and repeat, and you do this over and over. It seems okay. It looked like an okay game. It didn't look like it was up to snuff with these other 4 games. But because it was on this list, I was like, maybe there's something here that looks good. Now, I went on Board Game Bliss, and it's not available right now, but it's $70-something.
Import, probably,
from
Europe.
Yeah. I think this was a Kickstarter.
Oh.
But I'm not 100% sure on that. Anyways, it was a game that I didn't know anything about, so I wanted to kind of share with other people. If it's on a list with these games, it should be at least moderately good, so maybe something that you'll be interested in checking out.
Lignum.
Wood in Italian. There's also a subtitle, but it apparently doesn't translate into English, so they didn't tell me what it was.
That's so good, though. Like, just...
A game called Wood.
Stone. Sheep.
Oh, okay.
So good.
Yeah, so that is... recently viewed. New segment that we're working on here.
And unfortunately, you can't follow along because your recently viewed will be different than Jacob's.
Maybe. You don't know that.
Oh, man.
Jeffrey.
Like if you were like Italian and you were going to an Italian game store and you just like you just saw these games that were just wood.
Right.
Like if you just walked into a store here and it's just like I don't know, Fields.
Fields of Arl.
Yeah, but there's a name to that. It's just a statement of an object.
Right.
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe they like
but
that.
it does sound exotic in English, lignum. Maybe that's why they went for it.
Well, You mean in
May,
Italian?
yeah, maybe no. Like lignum sounds like to an English person sounds exotic. Maybe in their Italian copies, it literally is just called wood.
Oh, what is this?
Oh, okay.
Wood. What is that?
Moving right along.
Oh my word. All right. So, shall we move on to Kickstarter?
Yes, our Kickstarter segment.
Kickstarter, where Cards Against Humanity is waved in front of your face like Kickstarter is some sort of Jedi.
What? Sure.
I'm Nubian.
No.
Yeah.
I think people laugh at us instead
of with us. Yeah. Yeah, I hope so.
I hope so. We do this for their amusement.
Basically. Just like look up weird stuff and start talking into a mic.
So, yeah, we see there is another Cards Against Humanity rip. Rest in peace.
Yep. So, this one is called Bad People. And in Bad People, every player gets like a character card.
Right.
And your character card is stuff like a van that says free candy. And a giant dong.
Try to keep it PG here.
So you have this character card in front of you that represents who you are.
Okay.
And then one person is going to have a Cards Against Humanity style card. It's just going to be a white card with some text on it. And it's going to be a statement of, I don't know, something like the first person to fail at being in a porno. Or something like this. And they'd read this card aloud and they'd put it down. Then that person would secretly pick who at the table they think is going to be that person.
Right.
And so they take their matching, they have a bunch of matching cards equal to all the different types of character cards that people have in front of them. And you select that card and you put it down. And you're like, this face down, and you're like, this is the person that's going to be the first person to fail at a porno.
Right.
Then everyone else at the table needs to select who they think that person picked by picking their own card and putting it face down. You flip all the cards up, and if you matched, then you get a point. And if you didn't, you didn't get a point.
People don't keep track of points in these games.
That's the game.
That's the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's awesome.
Can't wait.
You gonna pick this up?
Well, I contacted them to see if I could get like a copy so we can do a review for their Kickstarter.
Oh my, no you didn't.
So that's Bad People.
Why? Do you think so after Dominion came out and like deck building became this hugely popular mechanic, and then deck builder after deck builder after deck builder. I mean, it's just this is the same thing. Yeah. Like it's the Cards Against Humanity mechanic, and people are let's just make another one. Like they sell. I'm sure this one is at like $10 million or something like that.
I don't think it's doing as well as the other ones.
Right.
But I'm sure it's gonna fund.
Oh yeah.
Like this, it will fund because people want that.
Well, it's easy to produce. It's just cards.
Yeah. And not even a lot of them at that.
Right.
And I think they're just going for shock value. Oh, your character card is this racy picture.
Right.
Like, okay, great.
Sure. Sure, bud.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's Bad People. If you want to take a look at it, maybe that's your thing.
Yeah.
That's your shtick.
If you find it fun, whatever.
Great. That's awesome for you. I'm not gonna judge anyone that, like, if I saw someone playing this game, I wouldn't judge them. I'd just be like,
you just think less of them.
No, I mean, I would just be like, there's so many better games.
Right.
Why would they be playing that? And they probably are unknowledgeable. And there's so many people out there, like, I don't know. It's with everything. Like, there's a ton of stuff that I know nothing about, and people would see me having fun with something, I don't know, like a bad video game, and they're like, why are you playing that stupid video game?
Yeah. Don't you know there's, Dragon Age 3 or something? Yeah. Why are you playing 2?
Like, yeah, I mean, someone could look at me playing Plants vs. Zombies Heroes Edition and wonder why I'm not playing Hearthstone.
That definitely happens.
Right?
Like, I think you hit, to take one of your sayings, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Right.
There. That's a very similar thing. Where if someone look, why are you playing that? That's just a cheap knockoff of Hearthstone.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe it's a better game than Cards Against Humanity.
Maybe. Could very well be. Moving on. This next game, it's another kind of dud for me.
Oh my!
It's actually doing well on Kickstarter.
Put some good games on here.
Well, it's hard because there aren't a lot of good games on Kickstarter right now that I've seen that I'm interested in. So I'm sorry if you're interested in a bunch of games, and I'm not talking about them. But this one grabbed me. I wanted to talk about it because it kind of lines up with something we were talking about last podcast or the one before that. I can't remember. But we were talking about how Kickstarters and, you need something that's appealing on your Kickstarter page to pull viewers in, to pull backers in, so that they come to your page and they check it out. And if you don't have the artwork, if you don't have that visual appeal to pull someone in, no one's going to go to your page, no one's going to back your game. This was a game that as soon as I saw it, I was just like, man, this looks awesome. I need to know more about this game immediately. And this game is called Darkness Sabotage.
You sure it's not like Eternal Sabotage? Or...
Shut up, Jeffrey. So, Darkness Sabotage, the cover is like, it's completely black with these red highlights, and it's like this skull, this really cool looking skull. It looks so clean and crisp of a box.
Right.
It reminds me of kind of like an anti-Time Stories kind of box.
Right.
So instead of all white, it's all black. And then, Time Stories has that cool little image, the highlighted text. The same thing going on here, just black and red. Looks very cool. Then the image, they have the shadow of the box kind of coming down the side. Yeah. And out of the shadow is like this horned orc character with this huge battle axe. Yeah. And I was like, man, this looks awesome.
Yeah.
I figured, maybe this is the dungeon game
for you.
For me, where you're an overlord and you're like creating this awesome dungeon.
Now listen, I have a thought.
Okay.
I have a thought here.
I should just design the game myself?
No. Do you think that the whole reason why you haven't found the perfect dungeon crawl for you is that you don't actually like dungeon crawl games?
Well, it's not a dungeon crawl that I'm looking for the overlord where I'm creating a dungeon. I'm creating like a labyrinth, a maze with all these traps and monsters in it, and then heroes I just want them to pour in and die.
Right.
But yeah. So anyways, this is not that type of game. So I went in, I took a look. The art's beautiful in this game. You got awesome miniatures. It's a miniature skirmish / dungeon crawl style game. And it is space pirates versus demons.
Sweet.
So you're in space. You have these fantastical pirates, mecha pirate kind of things. And there's demons in space, apparently, that you're battling against. Right. That's all I know. That's as far as I got. And then I was like...
That theme didn't grab you?
No, I'm done.
You sure it's not like in World of Warcraft, they're Draenei, not demons?
No, it said demons.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. In the text, it's demons versus space pirates. And I was just like, yep, done. I mean, I scrolled through, I looked. Everything looks beautiful. Right. The game is doing well on Kickstarter. So if you think that theme sounds interesting to you, you like that space theme, if you want some beautiful minis,
right?
Check this out. It looks very cool.
You need the trifecta, man.
It's Canadian. Wow. Canadian Kickstarter as well, out of Toronto. There you go. Support the Canadians.
Well, you're just saying how much you don't want to play this game.
It's not that I don't want to play it. It's that I don't need another game like this. I don't need another skirmish minis game.
Right.
And the theme does nothing for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring this up because the name and the artwork, the box, everything just drew me in. I immediately needed to know what this game was. And I wanted to mention that because we were talking about this in the previous episode where, you know, you look at this other Dungeon Overlord or whatever it was, and I was like, I don't even want to look at the Kickstarter based on the art.
Right. Yeah, like I said, you need the trifecta. You need artwork, theme, gameplay. You need all three. If you don't have all three, then you're gonna lose someone somewhere along the way. Because every step, you're gonna lose somebody. Like if your art isn't good, they're gone.
And that's they're entry level right there.
And then they're like, oh, what's this game about? And then if it isn't a good theme or a theme that jives with them, you're gonna lose other people. And I mean, so it could be a perfectly good theme. But it's
not for everyone.
It's not for everyone. So I don't think like there is a right theme versus a wrong theme. Now there is some very specific themes. If you were going to be a machinist who only worked on steampunk machines in the 1800s while wearing a monocle, that's a very specific subset of people who are going to enjoy that theme. There's some overarching ones.
I think if you're running a Kickstarter, you need to keep it fairly broad.
Right.
Like I saw a Kickstarter a couple months ago that was, you are nuns and you are using biological warfare in the name of your religion to kill everyone else.
Nice.
And I was like, who is lining up at the door to get this game?
Right. Who?
Like that theme is, you're right off the bat, you're eliminating so many people from wanting to play that game just based off of your theme.
Oh yeah.
Like you were just cutting ties. And sure, you have that shock value of, oh my gosh, I can't believe someone's making this game and it's going to get some buzz going, maybe.
Right.
But how many people are actually going to go, that sounds like an awesome theme?
Right.
And then the gameplay on top of that didn't seem like it was much of a game at all.
Yeah.
And it made like 5% of its funding or something and then bombed.
Yeah.
But
you gotta get past those hurdles. Art.
The more generic you can make a game, the better I think it's going to do on Kickstarter to a degree. You need a little bit of a niche to separate yourself from everything else, but you need something broad to pull everyone in.
Or you need something interesting. Don't just take something that exists already and just mash them together in a weird way. But
they did that with Smash Up.
Yeah, well,
yeah, well,
I don't like that game. I do not see the appeal for Smash Up. Oh, you brought me to a bad place. But so Ashes, we were talking about. That's a theme that doesn't exist. Hasn't existed before.
Highlander.
Well. The essence of the theme existed, just that theme itself. But people can get behind that, say that's new, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then they can run with it. But space pirates versus demons, like why would they ever fight each other?
I don't know. I didn't get far enough in the theme.
Like
the storyline, I don't know what it is.
Freight workers versus space pirates. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see those.
I really I need to find the perfect Space Raider game.
Space, yeah. Where
I'm actually I've always wanted to design one. No, hear me out. So you're these space pirates, right?
Right.
And you're flying along, and there's going to be all these planetary systems. And there's going to be these freighters that are traveling back and forth, and you need to move in and raid them. There's also going to be patrols going around. The more activity in a sector, the more patrols are going to be gravitating towards
You're
there.
describing Zaya, right? Like, that's basically this game.
No.
Like, because Zaya has, like, a freight... Like, there's only one NPC freighter that travels around. But the more you attack, the more the patrol wants to attack you.
Yeah, but this is like you're gravitating patrols to that system, and then there's more patrols going around that system. So the more activity you do there, the more likely you're going to get caught and have to deal with it. So then there's different ways to interact with this ship. You can try and dock with it and force your way on with actual manpower, and take them out. Maybe you can even hijack their ship and steal it. Maybe you're just taking their cargo. Maybe you update your technology so you can actually transport it with like Star Trek type beam it off of their ship. But maybe they have like high shields that you need to ping down first. You need weaponry, all different stuff like that. I just think that'd be like a really cool game, and then you can like
what do you do
team up with other people.
What do you do with the stuff you steal?
You're selling it, man. Trying to make the biggest bucks
on the black market.
Yeah, to upgrade your ships.
It's a base black market.
But anyways, I've always thought that'd be a fascinating game to like just fly ships around space, trying to steal stuff while you're being tracked and attacked. Maybe bounty hunters come after you or something like that. Yeah. You can play cards on your opponents.
I find games, something like you said, like where, okay, you start out your a certain level ship, or you can do certain things. Yeah. You take stuff over. Okay, then you go back, you got to upgrade your ship because the next set of ships you got to take over are even harder. Then
it's just kind of the same thing.
You just do the same thing over and over again. Like that's like Forge War.
Yeah,
I felt that's how the game would progress.
But like, the main problem with Forge War was that you didn't really do anything. You had like one action every turn, and
then there's 3 ages. So you go from iron and copper up to adamantium and mithril, and then like it's the same thing, but the names change. But you're just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to do. All right, get going.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. There's so many designs to do. I don't have time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Okay, so you didn't have any Kickstarter stuff, eh?
Well, apparently you said there's no good Kickstarters on, so...
Well, maybe there's a game that you like that I just thought was junk.
Actually, I did watch a Rado video for this game called Crisis.
Yeah.
Where it's like an economical, you're in like this country... And it's gone to the dogs.
Yep.
Things are happening. They're having to raise taxes, and you're trying to be these enterprising business people who are, investing in industries, getting the country back on its feet. But every round there's like these events. So based on how poorly the country is doing, even more stricter measures had to be put in place. And every round there's a target. So you need to have so many victory points by the end of the first round, or the country gets worse.
Yep.
And then it just keeps going up and up, and then it just exponentially ramps up. Like you might only need 5 points the first round, then you need 10, and then you need 20, and then you need 40, and stuff like that. And it had this cool mechanic where you're buying these buildings, and then you have to recruit workers and use them to power it, and that gives you resource. You can complete contracts for foreign areas you're exporting to improve your economy. It actually looks really cool.
Cool.
I'm a little tempted by this one.
David, our interview, the person that you're going to meet, or interviewee that you're going to meet in a little bit here, he actually has this game right now.
Oh, really?
Because he is playtesting it and doing a review for the Kickstarter.
All right, well, it's time to get him over so I can play it to see if I want to back this.
Exactly. So that's another one for your new segment to add to the list. Games you want to play.
Oh, games I want to play.
So there you go. Perfect.
But yeah, it looked interesting, and the artwork looked good. Like it had like I said, it had the artwork that kind of I thought was really nice. The theme was cool. You're trying to stem off this national collapse and stuff like that. And then the mechanics also looked really cool. There's worker placement, worker recruiting, assigning, getting certain resources. So you got to get a power plant to generate power. You can use that power in one of your other plants to turn that into a different resource. Yeah, so it had the 3. and I'm just like,
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that I looked a little bit into, but it doesn't really grab me. The theme didn't grab me. I didn't look at the mechanics, so I don't know what the mechanics are all about.
right. But it's interesting how it's a competitive game,
Right.
but if like let's say in Agricola, I have a move where I can really mess you up. You are going to be begging for food. You're going to be going door to door. People are just going to be, feeling so sorry for you. Like you're wrecked.
Right.
Like, and I can take that move. But in this game, I'd have to really think hard about it, because if you because it's each person. For every point, every person combined falls behind this target, the entire economy is going to collapse.
Right.
And if they ever go into complete collapse, we lose the game.
Right.
So I want to mess you up, but I don't want to mess you up so bad that you're not going to meet the financial targets
That's pretty cool.
for the game. So you got to be a little cutthroat, but if you really mess someone over, you've just lost the game for everyone.
That's interesting. Okay.
So that kind of mechanic, that's interesting. That adds a little bit of a different decision. You need to mess them up, but only to a certain point.
I'd definitely be willing to play the game.
There you go.
Give it a try. See what it's all about.
Getting your foot in the door.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere on the good games, right? Alright, my next Kickstarter. We have Giga Robots. Or Giga Robo, rather.
Giga Robo.
I'm tired, Jeffrey. And my stupid spell check turned Giga into Gigs.
There you go.
So it says Gigs Robo. and that I caught that, but then I said robots instead of robo. So it's Giga Robo.
Okay.
This is an anime mech style artwork.
Right.
So you have these giant mecha robots that you're trouncing around the city in, and you're battling your opponent. So it's kind of a battle arena in giant robots. You can interact with the terrain. So you got these buildings. You're hitting your opponents into the buildings, collapsing the buildings.
Okay.
Moving around. It seems interesting. It seems like there's a little bit going on.
You lost me on that theme.
Yeah.
The art too. I'm just looking at the art.
Doing it. Anime isn't for everyone.
No.
So it's got that cartoony feel, right?
Yeah.
But I really like the art style in the game. You got these cool miniatures, this 3D board. I don't know that it's something that I would back, but I just thought it was a cool project. Price point's a little expensive too. It's $70 US.
Right.
So that price point's high for me anyways. 27 days left in the campaign. It just started. I believe it's already funded. Is it funded? I don't know. But that theme just it came across as something that, hey, this is unique, right? But then, like you were saying just before, if it's out there,
right,
then you're gonna lose people.
Yeah, lost me
at the theme.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I don't know. I have a weird taste in games. Like the
drier, the better.
Well. Sometimes I'll hear this really dry theme. I'm like, woo! I can't wait to play that game. Literally, I'm super excited. And then I don't know. It just doesn't get me juiced up. Doesn't get me going. Hearing about these giant robots hitting each other and knocking in the 3D terrain. I don't know. Just literally zero excitement for me.
It's the biggest appeal to the game, I think, is you design your own mech. So you build your own mech with a different driver, whatever you want to call them, and different parts, mechanical parts. It's you have a cooldown on all your abilities. So as you're doing stuff, you have to wait before you can do that move again. It's strategically moving around.
I think what it is when I hear a theme and I hear about a game, I'm trying to imagine the mechanics that implement that theme.
Right.
So if I hear about building factories in Industrial Revolution Japan. I'm like, I bet you there's some cool mechanics in that game, and I'm excited. I'm excited to play that.
It would need cool mechanics just to survive.
And lo and behold, we have Meeple.
Yeah.
Great game.
Yeah,
and then I hear
game.
about this, and I'm like, okay, what mechanics are implementing this? I'm like, there's probably dice rolling combat. What else is going on in it? Probably not a whole lot.
Yeah, it's Ameritrash.
Yeah. So I think it's not so much the theme. It's how, when I hear about a theme, what ways do I think that theme is going to be implemented?
Sure.
And I think about the mechanics that'll be involved, and if it's, if I think it's mostly going to be mechanics that doesn't juice me up, then
yeah, I honestly believe that if you have like a really dry theme, you need extra strong mechanics to pull you through.
right.
So the gameplay is probably going to be good.
The drier the theme, I'm like, man, they got some awesome mechanics in this thing.
So go out there, make some horrible themes. Jeffrey will buy.
Yeah. Weird, interesting themes, but not space pirates and demons. Because, okay, literally, like, when you think about that, space pirates and demons, what are you thinking? You're thinking just fighting each other.
Yep.
That's it.
Just roll some dice.
I move over here, I punch a demon. This demon moves over here, punches a space pirate.
Yep.
Like, that's what I picture.
Basically.
And that gets me... I'm not intrigued at all. But
Me either.
But I hear about...
needs more.
Building up a city-state and exploring far-off lands and controlling different resources to try and have the most, to get majorities in them.
But you don't
Attacking
even
towns.
you don't even want to look into the mechanics to find out what it is. You just imagine what the mechanics could possibly be, and then that's enough for you.
Well, sometimes, if I know who the designer or company is.
That's right, yeah.
If I know the designer and I know the company, that alone can do it.
Right.
But if I hear about something...
So Giga Robots by What's Your Game?
Yeah. Because I know that they're never actually going to fight. You're going to be the factory workers building these robots with some cool mechanics. You're going to have to source the iron, refine it, smelt it, build the parts you need. Maybe get like a computer technician to build some cool chips to go into it.
I love it. It sounds fun, actually.
But yeah,
That's cool.
Like, see, you take that, right?
Yeah.
Like, even just the name didn't get me excited. But you tell me it's by this designer, this company, and you're like, okay, yeah, there's something going on here.
I love it.
that I got.
I love it, Jeffrey. It's great.
It's interesting. But if it's by someone I don't know, then I'll usually look more into it. Like that Crisis game, like I heard about what it was, and that it had to do with like financial crisis in a company. So I was like, I'll go look some more into it, because I didn't think it was just going to be one note, one dimensional.
Yeah.
Throw a robot into a building and watch it crash.
Sure.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That's me. That's a game.
and then, yeah, I mean, we were talking about this last time, and I'm the reverse. I'm theme. Okay, what's this theme? Oh, it's giant robots fighting in a city with 3D terrain. You're smashing into it. That sounds cool.
Yeah, but
what could that be about? And then I look into it, and I see that the mechanics look just mediocre, and doesn't look like there's enough there to keep me interested, and I pass it on.
Right.
But hearing about industrial Japan, and I'm just like,
you're juiced up.
Pass. Next.
Really?
Theme doesn't do anything for me.
Right.
So I have zero interest in even looking at that game, and obviously I'm gonna miss some games because of that. So which is great that we
complement each other.
Exactly, because then you're gonna bring those games to me, and I'm gonna be like, oh man,
do I really have to play this?
This looks so lame. And then I push some cubes around, and I'm like, sweet,
this is awesome.
Right? But yeah. So I'm glad that you're buying these games so that I can try them out.
Cool. let's just keep doing it.
Let's keep doing it. Just keep this cycle going.
All right, everyone. It's time to move on to our main topic, which is an interview.
Yeah, interview with David.
And he's from a company, Connect More.
And Stay to Play.
Which is a subsidy or a part of the Connect More.
Yeah, they're one company with kind of two parts that do two completely separate things.
Yeah.
But we'll talk all about that. Please stick around for this. It's quite interesting what he does, and we had some good laughs as well.
And you can listen to someone other than us talk about gibberish for 2 hours.
Exactly. And you'll get a taste of next episode as well when we talk about gateway games.
All right.
We will see you guys in a little bit, a couple seconds here.
Bye.
You'll hear us talking.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Meeple Reviews. My name is Jeffrey.
And I am Jacob.
And today we're here with a special guest,
David.
And why are you with us today, David?
That's a good question. I met Jake at one of our events here in Calgary. It was last week, and he asked me to come on. We can talk about some of the board game things we're doing here in Calgary through my company Connect More and Games YYC. So I'm excited to be here. But more importantly, for me and for us, is once we're done, we get to play Scythe. And so after that, I'm just
let's just cut the interview here.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Exactly. Thank you very much for having me. I'll keep my answers short. We got to get onto the game. But in all seriousness, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about the game industry here in Calgary.
We had to bait David in with something. So we were just like, you could stay for a game of Scythe afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think I'm teaching it, aren't I? Or
well,
you might have to teach him.
Yeah. Well, I've watched Rodney Smith's Watch It Play video.
Okay, yeah. I can't do better than that then. So.
I should know the basics of the game.
Okay, perfect.
Right.
But anyways, David, I found you on Twitter, your company, I should say, and I was like, what's this all about? I was confused. I did a little bit of research, and I tweeted at you guys, I messaged you guys, and I was like, what is this company? And that's how I kind of came to find you, and then you told me about that you do Connect More, which is gaming events around town, and I ended up going to one of those and meeting you in person. So can you tell us a little bit about Connect More and how that came to be?
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a long and convoluted story, and I know we got the game waiting, so I'll give you the salient points, the highlights. No, frankly speaking, is you rewind a long time, kind of when I discovered modern board games is when I was actually living in Paris with my wife, and I just finished an all French meeting. It was a week long, and I was just fried. And I go home and I go, listen, I want to spend time with you tonight, but I'm going to be the worst possible person to spend time with because I'm grumpy. I don't know if I'm fired. I don't know if I got a promotion. I don't know if I'm supposed to be working right now. I have no idea. There's a lot of angry people yelling at each other. I don't know what to do. So then we actually blew the dust off a game of Monopoly that we actually packed along with us. And I was reading the rules. And I'm like, hey, did you know that if you land on a property and you can't or choose not to buy it, it has to be auctioned right away? My wife's like, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, crazy. I'm like, and he's like, it's a wonderful thing when you actually read the rules.
Yeah.
So we actually played a game and it was wonderful. We had such a good time. And so yes, I'm admitting that my gateway game was Monopoly. But played properly.
Right.
And so we did that for about a week and just having a glass of wine. Maybe it was the wine that attracted me. I don't know. but more importantly, it was time that we got to spend without being ridiculed for how horrible my French was just because I wanted a coffee. So it was a kind of a shelter, a safe haven for me. So then there's this crazy thing called the internet. So I just said, like, hey, I wonder if there's more board games out there. So sure enough, there was. And so long and slippery slope, we went down and started, exploring board games. But then I moved to Nigeria after that. And by now I had a modest collection of about 20 or 30 games. And I took them to Nigeria. Yeah. And I started inviting people over to my place because they didn't have a choice. We were always in lockdown. So for security reasons, they had no other thing to do but to come over to my place and play board games. But everyone had a great time. Yeah, awesome. And so then that's when I started sitting there and I knew I was going to move back to Calgary. At that point in time, we had our first son and we were moving back. And moved back to Calgary. This is where I was born and raised. And I go, well, where is everybody? You didn't have that captive audience anymore.
Sure.
So then what I did was I actually formalized a company called Connect More, and the name is actually after Connect 4, the board game, because when you look at a game of Connect 4 when it's done, the object is to get 4 of your same color in a row diagonally, whichever way. But there's all these other colors, or there's the 2 colors all mixed around, looks chaotic. And that to me kind of signifies as social relationships that exist today is if you don't actively look for connections with people, they don't happen, because the connections are happening with their iPads, their phones, and you're seeing a lot of this, like public transit, what have you. And so I'm like, well, if I'm going to make these connections within this city that I called home at one point in time, I'm going to have to actively do it. And so then that's why I started up the company, so Connect More. And the idea was that we could actually seek out these relationships, and I'd actually have to go and find them because they weren't coming to me like they were in Nigeria. And so I formalized that. And so then I'm like, okay, now what? I got a company. What do I do? So by day I'm a geophysicist. I work in the oil and gas industry, but this was just kind of like my pet project. It was kind of a way to kind of justify to my wife all the board games I was buying out, because I didn't have to worry about shipping them around the world. I'm like, well, honey, they're for the company. Well, what does this company do? I don't know. Board game stuff. so then I decided, I'm like, okay, what can I do? So then I started doing some team building with some companies downtown, using board games as a catalyst for discussion. And people would ask me, well, what do you know about team building? I'm like, well, I've got 12, 13 years of experience with big oil companies, and I can tell you everything that I hate about team building, which is almost everything. And so then I took all that out and then recreated it to have an event that a technical person would like, or a technical person, because my background, because a lot of times too, like, They take away a whole day of my time, and we're drilling an oil well. I can't leave for a day, and so then either A, I'm left out of the event, or B, now I'm upset with the event because I don't have to make up my work elsewhere in the evenings, and it takes away from my family time. So then instead, I have very specific criteria. The event can't go more than 3 hours, and it has to be most companies have a 1 hour meeting every week. It has to be during that time. So I come to the event in an hour, so nobody begrudges the event. And then it's always mixing as well, because a lot of events in Calgary involve dinner and drink. And so then what happens is you're going to leave your office with the guys you always hang out with. You're going to show up together. You're going to sit together. You're going to talk together. Meanwhile, Betty from accounting's down the other side of the table, and you never got to mingle with her. And that was the whole point of the exercise, right? Sure. So I found board games was a great way to crisscross match and really get personalities out. And then you just talk about, how did you feel about that game? And people would do their own discussions themselves, and it turned out to be really good. So that was the first step. Second step was I started going to schools and teaching board games, curriculum aligned board games to different schools. So I went to Spitzy and a few different schools here locally in Calgary, and that was well received. So I'm like, okay, I'm starting to do something. So the next thing was start hosting some events. So I started going to different restaurants around Calgary, and I'd take some board games with me, and whoever was there, I just teach them board games. And like, whoa! So I just did it for free, and I did it. And so it's actually, I did it at a restaurant called The Loop, which is now Pip's Board Game Cafe. So I was either when they went in there, they found some of my old business cards. So I'm like, hey, I was there first. So I was teaching, and because the idea was the next thought was, when you walk into all these restaurants in Calgary, or pubs or cafes or whatever, depending on when you walk in there, there's always empty space. Always. Sure, yeah. So somebody is paying 24/7 for a lease where the space is not being fully utilized, it's not being maximized. So why should I go and start up a cafe or something like this, or a place just to hang out? Or even what the real kicker was, like right where we live here, one of these community centers, to rent it out for the night, it's $250.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why am I going to go pay to rent some, community center, which now I got to bring in food if I want and all this stuff and all this extra prep, when there's people already paying for space, and they would be delighted if somebody came in and used that space during the time and brought more customers. Yeah. So because I'm cheap, I started reaching out to, and because I got to keep my board game budget afloat, because if I start paying for places to pay, well, that comes out of my board game budget. Like,
buy games.
Yeah, it's a horrible thing, and So then we decided doing that, and I did that for a little while, but then that business went out, but it's easy because then I just stopped showing up. But then. So I was just kind of monkeying around a little bit. Last fall, I got approached by another guy's name's Mike Prosey, and so he's my partner now with Connect More, and he knows nothing about board games. It's great. It's awesome. So I even asked him, like, do you know what BGG stands for? He's like, big, grand, go gophers. He's like, I'm like, awesome. We're perfect for each other because they say opposites attract, right? But he loves doing the social media, and that's what Jake. That's probably the person you were corresponding with with that. So he approached me, and he really wanted. He loves doing events and reaching out, and he's actually a food blogger himself. So he was connected with a lot of these people in Calgary that knew nothing about board games. Right. But one thing I know from my experience in Nigeria is that even people who don't know nothing about board games, they have an amazing time if they're introduced to them properly.
Right. Sure.
And so in Nigeria, they didn't have a choice. Here in Calgary, they do have a choice. So you got to make it compelling. You got to make it a reason for them to come out and make board games a choice. Yeah. So the nice thing was having a voice that was not board game related. Was he's able to reach into that community, and I kind of refer to this the young executive community, the young professionals, newly graduates. So they're excited. They want to explore. They want to try different things. They want to do escape rooms. They want to do paint nights. They want to do these things. They want to explore. They want to have fun. Yeah. And then the other demographic that you have is what I call soccer dad, soccer mom, executive dad, executive mom, combination of the two. And generally speaking, there's a lot of them in Calgary. They have money, they have kids, and they don't know what to do with both of them. Right. They struggle with what to, so then we're finding that there's a real need for people, and I get emails, how do I get my kid off the iPad? I'm like, spend time with them. Yeah. It's that simple. It's that simple. But then again, going back to me being lazy and perhaps a little bit selfish, so when I spend time with my kids, I'm like, oh, Thomas the Tank Engine or Thomas the Train, I don't want to build train tracks. Here's a board game. And they're like, oh, awesome, Dad, let's play that instead. So then that's what's still spending time with them. Whatever it is, it's a catalyst, right? Yeah. And I use board games as that catalyst. So then we started doing that. But again, I talk about my family a lot. So we started doing lots of events. And with Mike, my partner, he wants to do events every week. He's so excited about what we do. He's so excited about getting all these people together. It's like we're getting happy hours. We're having singles nights. We're doing all these things. And so that's under our Games YYC brand. And for those listeners out there, YYC stands for Calgary. It's the airport code. So sometimes I'm asked. And so that's our Games YYC brand. And the whole focus there, and maybe it's not quite, the focus is not on board games. Right. The focus is that we use board games as a catalyst for people to meet each other, to share some laughs and get together. That's the most important thing. Don't get me wrong, I love playing like the games like Scythe and these types of games. But if honestly, I'm glad we've already met, because if you guys were duds, I wouldn't want to stick around to play Scythe. I'm sorry, it's an amazing game, but and maybe you guys are feeling the same way. But it's you still have to be in a group. Even the most intense game, you got to be with a group that you have a connection with, right? And you can build those connections experiencing the board game together. So then I said, no, Mike wanted to do these all the time. I said, listen, I got a family. My point to board games for me is spend time with each other. So let's figure out a different model. And I think this is how you reached, was through our state of play model. Yeah. So then from that, we started deriving, well, how can we create and get board games out into the masses, out into the wild, without me having to be there all the time to instruct them, to say, this is a game that you should play, this is et cetera, et cetera. So then it kind of boiled down to well, what if we can keep our board game library at a location? I'm like, okay, and that way we can just use it for events. But what if we give them a library that is so accessible and so readily available that they can use it even when we're not there? Yeah, that sounds awesome. And then now how are we going to... So we kind of crunched the numbers, worked through it all. And so now today I delivered 3 more board game libraries. So we're at 19 locations around Calgary now. Nice. And so then it's great because we give them certain reference materials and things. So when people show up, they don't know anything about board games. But then we got 5 questions. First question is, how many people are playing? Yeah. And so they go down the number of games and they say, okay, there's 3 of us and we got, games that are recommended with 3. And then you go, is there a minimum age? Because generally I find that complexity minimum age below 8, there's a correlation there. Yeah, sure. Makes sense. So if you have little Jimmy that's 4, you got to be aware of that, right? And then after that, you look for time constraints, time to learn, time to play. Like if you're in a rush, which a lot of people are, well then, don't get annoyed at the board game because it's going to take 45 minutes to play. And then after that, I make a comments about my own personal feelings about the game, and then you're off and running. And then we're also doing quick start guides so people can just pick it up. Step 1, step 2. And there's simplified versions of the rules. So say, for example, Carcassonne, we don't mention the farmer. That just confuses people. Yeah. And so then I know your audience will probably be board game people. And they're like, what do you mean? The farmer is so easy. I agree. I absolutely agree. But we find that through these events, we find what people want and what their actual complexity level is. And so I keep track of these, and we're finding if you use the BGG complexity scale, 1.3 to 1.5 max is generally, unless they have someone there to
Right.
teach them, like to get like Catan or something, because Catan's like 2 point something, I can't remember, but unless you have if they're on their own with a game, 1.3 to 1.5 is as big as you want to go, and even then sometimes it's pushing it. And then the people who go beyond that, well, then that's the exception to the rule is what we're finding. So so we started doing that, and so then now it makes Connect More sound like this big, because that's like the parent company. It sounds like this big conglomerate, but it's just me and Mike. And so we got Connect More,
and only one of you know about board games.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's learning, and in fact, we wanted to do a podcast, start a podcast. We just don't have time, called Meeple and People.
Yeah,
so I'd be the Meeple and he'd be the People. He represents, and so we'd go out in the wild and like make video. But video like people downtown Calgary or whatever, show them a Meeple and see what name would they give it, and like things like this. But
I was at the mall the other day, and a friend of mine was buying a hat at Lids, and you can get like a custom design on there, and he was getting something on there because he's a teacher, he's getting an apple or whatever. And I was like, oh, I should get like one with a Meeple on it. And the girl behind the counter is like, they want to make a sale. So she started like searching, and she's like, oh, sorry, we don't have any meatball. Why would I want a meatball?
So welcome to Meatball Reviews. Meatball Leaf Reviews. Yeah.
We all work at Subway.
Yeah, exactly. We're sandwich artists. Is that what they call it? No, but it's funny because like, and even him, I was having some fun with him. So if I say worker placement, what does that mean to you? He's like, is that like a temp agency? So you're like, sure, why not? So we thought there's a lot of comical conversations that you can have. And the thing about it is, to me, it's comical. To some like heavy gamers out there, you might say, oh, shame on you. That might sound condescending. But neither him nor I saw it that way. Because he, in reverse, could make fun of me about like, being so intense about board games.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then we thought it'd be a good opportunity to kind of change back and forth, but it's really great because we find that we complement each other quite well. And then so I focus on what games we need to put in the library, and he's out getting new clients and new establishments to get in there and setting up.
I feel me and Jake are a similar way. I like the good games.
Yes. So these are Jeff's games behind here, and these are indeed the good games. Yeah.
You haven't even seen my collection.
All I heard when I first showed up was that only 2 of these games cross over into your collection as well, or only one you keep?
I mean, there's good games here, for sure. They're just not games that I would necessarily go out and buy if Jeff moved away or I moved away or something.
Right.
So they're all games I enjoy playing for the most part, except maybe, Star Wars Rebellion or something like that.
Yeah, well, I'm on your side with that one. So
yes.
Yeah. So anyhow, I know I gave way too long of an answer, and by the time you're done editing,
that was the short answer.
Exactly. So but that's how it all came to be. So now we got Connect More, and we have a community division, which is Games YYC, doing events in Calgary, and then we have kind of our board game libraries that we're setting up throughout Calgary, and we're starting to get some interest from Edmonton as well. So then so that's that. And then underneath the rest of Connect More is where I do my board game reviews. So I got Avoid the Rules videos that I do, which covers more the heavier games. But my Avoid the Rules, as you can tell, I love to talk, so I talk. But you know what? I gotta say is when I started deciding I want to get into reviewing, I was really inspired by Undead Viking. I just love his reviews, like because he just sits there and chats, and so I kind of modeled myself after him. But then I give my review as I'm explaining how to play the game. Whereas like Rodney Smith with Watch It Played, he gives it's straight, it's clean, it's tight, it's short, and it's awesome. Whereas I find I'm more grab a beer and let's have a chat, right?
Exactly.
And so that's kind of, I like to walk through the game with that style of discussion. And then with my kids, we got 3TV, which stands for the tabletop view of tiny tabletoppers, because quite literally their head is right here, and they get a view of the tabletop. And so that's where I try to show and break down these barriers of you can play games like Kanban with a 6-year-old. You don't force it on them, but again, like we were talking about before, is if your son or your child comes in your game, I don't care if they're 2 or 3, and they come in your games room and they say, that looks interesting, show it to me, show it to them. Let them play with the pieces, let them move things around, and let them wreck a card. That's okay. You just email the publisher and say, hey, my 2-year-old got a hold of my cards. Sorry, publisher, so that happens, right? But I bet you they would replace one card happily, knowing that there's a kid that is showing an interest in what you're doing, spending time with you, and that was going to develop into a much bigger, part of their life as they grow. So I'm definitely not advocating you push this game on your kid because you want to make a gamer out of them by the time you're 4.
Right.
I'll write Timmy.
Yeah, all right, Timmy. Today, I'm gonna hit the timer. We got 2 hours. We're playing games. But Dad, my diaper's wet. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
We don't have time.
Yeah, we don't have time for that. We got time for that. We're losing time here. Yeah.
I know you thought this one was interesting, but this is the one we're playing.
Yeah. So the reason why sometimes now I'll post pictures of the games the kids are starting to play, strategy's out the window. Like they don't have an idea in strategy, but they're interested in certain games, and as long as they're pushing pieces and whatever box they point at, I'm like, cool. And anytime I get something new, I show it to them. I'm just like, this is do you want to help me punch it? Do you want to help whatever? Right. If they say no, I'm jumping on trampoline. Cool, like whatever. But I make sure that if they want to be involved, there's no barriers or deterrents to them. So yes, we do that, and then we do go into schools and teach board games as well. It's just trying to get them in there as well. So I'm happy to announce that we're actually the sponsor for the Douglasdale Elementary Board Game Club that's going to start up next year as well.
Wow. So what kind of games are you going to be teaching there then?
Well, no, it's just I'm going to just provide them with a set of games. Okay. And so and the only way that's going to work is if you have a champion. So we're going to have a teacher who he's totally into it. Like he found it as into games, so he reached out to me, and so he's like, yeah, I'm going to start up a board game club. I'm like, I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to sponsor that. Nice. And so that way, because let me help you out a little bit, because I appreciate what the teachers are doing, and they should be putting all their resources back to the kids. Like I'm just appreciative of the time that they spend with their kids that are doing it. So like, let me take care of the games for you, and let's see how it goes. So lots of stuff going on. Right. That's the company. And
Well, that's a lot of information. So to kind of sum up the general thing, Connect More is about getting out there, is socializing with people in your community. You're hosting events, having people come and playing games. And then you have State of Play, which you are approaching companies that are already existing and saying, hey, can we implement board games into your company and make it a board game cafe or whatnot. Exactly.
And so that's the one thing too, you touch on board game cafes. So like a board game cafe, you're going to go there for the ultimate board game experience.
Right.
And so I love the board game cafes here in Calgary. I know I fully support them. The issue that I find with a board game cafe, just generally speaking, is it's board game first, then cafe second.
Right.
And so then you're seeking out, you want to play board games. You're seeking that out. Whereas I find a lot of our client base, they don't know that they like playing board games yet. They don't know they don't know of the whole world, but they like to go to their they go to these contemporary environments, Starbucks, Tim Hortons, whatever. So you kind of have to go to them and say, here's some games that you play. So instead of having a wall of 1,000 games like some of these board game cafes, we'll put in 20. But they're
because 1,000 games can be very overwhelming for
even us.
Well, what do I play?
Yeah, exactly.
Jeffrey just stands in front of his collection for hours and then doesn't end up playing anything.
Well, I do that too. Like I'll tell my wife, I'm like, hey, so what are you doing tonight? I'm just gonna go fondle my bits and let me know when you're going to sleep. So she's like, seriously.
Or sometimes I'll be like, oh, let's play a game. And my wife will be like, what game do you want to play? I'm like, I don't know. Let me go up and look at them.
Well, my wife now tells me, she's like, listen, I'll play a game with you tonight, but it has to be one that we've already played.
I get that all the time.
Yeah, fair. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Cool.
Rather coconut shell.
So I'm gonna delve a little bit deeper here and to connect more.
Sure.
Who exactly is your target audience? Is it just everyone?
Yeah, honestly, it depends again on who I'm talking to. So that's why, for the YouTube, the review channel, when I'm doing board, that's for the people who are immersed in the hobby. Sure. That's going to be for people who want to have the discussion with these games. And I find sometimes it's good to have a flavor to your instructional videos, because a lot of people watching, they don't have that discussion. They're watching it, they're going to go out with their games group, but they don't have that discussion to really think about it. So for those things, hardcore gamers, that's who you're focusing. People who like the Euros, more complex games, because ultimately, if I was to choose, those are the games that I really love to play. Again, provided it's with people that you love to play with. But honestly, I find that I've never found a group that I haven't enjoyed playing with. It's just awesome. Because the games is, I find it brings out the best in people. And people will argue, that one time when so and so flipped the table, I'm like, yeah, but that was pretty awesome. You see how strong he was?
My table's bolted to the ground.
Yeah, exactly. That was impressive. Yeah. So we'll submit that to strongman competition. Whereas our Games YYC, we're on the exact opposite of the spectrum. We're focused, and even our state of play, we're focused on, the Games YYC first is we're focused on people who don't know that they like games, but now we're starting to attract a lot of gamers who are reoccurring, coming back to our events. Sure. So now I'm starting to bring more games to them, because for those events I can only take about 150 to 200 board games because that's all that fits in my car. Okay. But we keep online the entire collection of over 600 games that we have, so you can actually request any game that you want, and so that way I can just bring it along. So you still have that. So we're starting to get a crossover mix there. And in state of play, again, we're focusing the primary focus on people who don't know that they like board games yet, but we're putting in games that people will recognize. Go, oh, I can go here to play Mysterium. Cool. So then, so we're posting all the games at each venue, and then We Held Hands is a very kind of boutique game, I'd call, where it's a 2-player game about emotion and empathy, and and I did a review on it. Like, it was a lovely game. I really liked it. But so a lot of people, they found out about that, so more of the gamers know that it's out there. So we're starting to sprinkle that in some locations as well. So so I'm trying to put some Easter eggs, if you will, scatter them around so that people know that they're there and experience new things, because there's a lot of really cool places in Calgary that we're starting to put the board games in.
Well, and I like how you describe them as people who don't know they like games yet.
Yeah. I don't call them noobs. I call them because the thing is, and it goes back to my experience when I started getting into myself, is if it's a proper experience. And the problem with board games that I see is, if you compare them to a video game, is with a board game, just learning the rules is a step function. Yeah. You go from not knowing the rules, you must know every single rule, right? And then the learning has to be instantaneous, like as a step function. And that's why everyone has a crap time playing Monopoly, because they got free park and all this stuff, and they didn't even read the rules printed on the back of the cover. Yep. Yeah. Whereas in a video game, they build the learning curve in there. The first set, you're doing like A, B, and some joystick action. By the time you get to the final round, the thing's shaking on you, it's buzzing, and you got the headset in, and you're talking smack to some 8-year-old across the country, and you're doing like, it's all like, and it's totally engaged. Like, but if that was what they hit you with first, you'd be like, no way, that looks way too complicated. Board games have that same thing, but board games, unfortunately, you have to be there. So if you have somebody who can kind of level out that slope a little bit and kind of baby you into it a little bit, and I don't like to use the word baby, but kind of help you not be so focused on mechanics and just more focused on the experience, then they love it.
And video games too, they don't allow you to break the rules. If you try and hit Y and you don't manage to jump, you're like, oh well, that doesn't work. But if someone's playing a tactile game or doing something, playing flick 'em up, and like, oh, what do I do with this? Just throw it across the room.
Sweet.
How do I score points?
He with the biggest bruise loses. So that's actually a really good point. Totally agrees.
Yeah. So it's definitely, I like how you phrase it, that they don't know that they like games yet, because I do think, like you said, if in the right environment, I think a lot of people, everyone could have an enjoyable time with board games.
Exactly. I think everyone's a gamer at heart.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
at least 98% people.
And it's not my mission to make everyone a gamer. Like that's not my mission. But like, I strongly believe in the anchoring theory in life with things, like when you're negotiating, doing anything. And basically, what that states is, as soon as you stick a post in an idea or a concept or a price, then people tend to anchor and tether themselves around that. If you give it. So I find that with board games, everyone has a positive moment that they can reflect back onto, whether it be a weekend at grandma's or whatever, that anchors them to a positive feeling about board games that exists somewhere inside of them. And is, for a lot of people, it's been a long time since they've scratched that feeling. But once you give them an opportunity to go back to that feeling, it's anchored in a good spot. It's anchored in a good spot in their heart, and you're already working with a good, a palatable person, somebody who's open to it. But if you don't give them that opportunity to go back and find that anchor that was there, then it's not there. So I firmly believe that a lot of people out there who don't know that they love board games have a positive experience with it. Something like, oh, I remember camping, playing Chutes and Ladders with my brother. Everyone's got a story like that. So if you can scratch that, it's like one of my favorite movies is Inception.
Right.
And, and one of my favorite lines about the movie is when they're talking about how they're going to plant the dream within the dream within the dream,
Right.
you know, whatever, way down. But then the comment that he made was he believes that positive emotion trumps negative emotion all the time.
Right.
And that's the same way I have with most people with board games, is they have a positive emotion or attachment to it. It's just a matter of finding it and then developing it further in their adult life.
Awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So with your gaming events, how many people generally come out to a gaming event that you would run?
Yeah, so we've been picking up some momentum. So the generally our main event that we host once a month that you came to is we sell out. Our sellout for us is 70 people, but we have some overflow. So between 60 and 80 people would be a fair number to say. We've been doing that the last about 5 months. And then the night that you came, it was the June 30th, so it was the eve of long weekend with July 1st being so it was a very quiet night. That night we had 35 because we had 32 people for 2 rooms and a boom, so that everyone played. So we had just north of 30, and so that for us, so a lot of people were like, oh, that's a great turnout, but for us that was about as quiet as it normally gets. And so but normally we're getting around 60 plus people to the events. But again, that's because of Mike, my partner. He basically spams people all the time. Yeah, it's great. He is great. Like he just gets on there and he's so active in getting people just to come and try, and it's just really great. He's tenacious about that. So
cool.
Yeah.
And is it like the same people that keep coming over and over, or is it always fresh faces all the time?
Well, the first couple of times, obviously, all fresh faces, but now we're starting to get a pretty core group. I would say, maybe 20 to 30 people are repeats that keep coming back, and so now it's keeping me on my toes, because now I can't just have your standard stuff. I don't like new stuff I got to throw in there, and so it's really interesting because now like the big hot game was Murder Deception. Murder in Hong Kong, Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. Yeah. So that one there is like, I taught that one about 6 or 7 times before I finally got a chance to play it, and everyone just loved it. So now I'm finding it's giving me, these people are coming and requesting certain games, they want to play it. You're starting to get a good core group coming back, which is really great. They're really supportive of what we're doing.
Nice.
Right. So they're kind of leveling up almost, going from the basic games to give me more.
Yeah. And a lot of these people too were, I would call them casual to gamers to begin with, and they're finally finding an outlet that they really enjoy. And a lot of people too, especially, we even had one guy, because he found out we were doing 2 rooms in a boom, he was so excited he came just for that very thing, because he knew we were doing it back to back to back. So he came just for that, because a lot of gamers, this is an opportunity for them to meet other tables, because if you show up by yourself, you get smashed in with a new group. Like if you don't want to meet somebody, do not come to our events. They are not for you. Like we just smash you together. We don't care that you brought Twilight Imperium, like people are like, no, I came here to play this game. No, you came here to meet that guy, and some people are like, well, that's not the experience I want. Fine, there's other go elsewhere. We're creating an experience for people to be social, and so the nice thing is, even a lot of gamers, normally when they only play 2 to 4 player games. They got their game group or whatever. So this gives them an opportunity to play more of the party games, social games that they don't normally get. So they're really enjoying that opportunity to play those types of games as well.
Yeah. I know you mentioned to me the first time that I showed up at the event, it's meet people, and then eat some food, and then play games in that order.
Yeah, meet, eat, compete. It's MEC, right? MEC. Meet, eat, compete. And so I'm trying to piggyback on Mountain Equipment Co-op. It's all about branding.
So get those acronyms.
I got to get them in there. But it was funny because I started hashtagging MEC, and I noticed that nothing came up Mountain Equipment Co-op. I'm like, cool. Wow. Yeah, I'll stick with that.
That's actually surprising to me.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised too. So meet, eat, compete, and the priority for me is always that order. It's like, people have no problem going out for a dinner and a movie, but the only time you're going to talk is over dinner. Or you can talk during the movie, but you'll probably get told to leave. So then, come and meet some people. If you're already coming with your group, cool. But you're going to be amongst some other people. But we get a lot of single people showing up now, which is awesome because they know it's a comfortable environment that they're not going to be showing up. It's not like you show up to a restaurant by yourself and saying, I'm here to have dinner with 4. Who can you put me with, right? And then people will be like, sorry, we don't do that, right? So walking around, imagine waitress, excuse me, that gentleman there would like to join your table. And that sounds weird. Whereas you come to our event, it's like, you're sitting with those guys, right? And there's just no, and so we're trying everything we can to break down the boundaries with the games and the boundaries with the people, and just break all the boundaries, like social boundaries, the gaming boundaries, break that all down, and and just make it just a nice, relaxing, loose night. And so far, it seems to be gaining some traction, some popularity in Calgary. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we're taking the summer off now, though, because weather like this is,
everyone wants to be outside. No one wants to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough sell, and we don't want to burn out, so we're going to keep the season the same as like a school year.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so like September through the end of June.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned a couple things that I wanted to jump onto. You're kind of based here in Calgary. You've started reaching out into Edmonton a little bit. Are you expanding anywhere else, or do you have plans to expand?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Edmonton actually approached. We started getting some interest from Edmonton.
Okay.
So but frankly speaking, that was kind of on our radar in the first place. Was, to go out. But even like right now, just the state of play concept's blown up on us in the last 3 months. It was kind of once we kind of came up with a concept, we went and did a soft sell to a coffee shop, and we said, hey, it was just kind of on a lark. Yeah. And then the guy's like, that sounds awesome, but don't talk to me. There's our corporate manager that manages all the regional offices.
Oh, perfect.
So then pitch it to the regional guys, like, we're in. And so we're like, okay. So and that's when we knew we had something.
Right.
And so then we're spending the summer to keep working on that, and then expand out. There's other venues too, which we haven't even touched yet, which I think are going to be awesome. I'll touch on that if and when we do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Mike wants to continue to expand, and I'm following his lead on that. I just give him all the support I can from what it needs to look like for a good board gaming experience. Right. And then he continues to look for venues where it would be a really good match for the type of people that go there and the type of clientele. And so we're just trying to plug into these different venues, and then provide a service to their clientele that their clientele would enjoy. Yeah. So to answer your question directly, Edmonton probably this year, and beyond. That's definitely
you want to, and it's just when it happens.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a matter of time. Again, there's just the two of us, and we have to sit and think about how things look, because you can only do so much in a day.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll take it day by day. Now, you got to remember, maybe one thing I should mention is Connect More. Do you know another reason why it was started is because, we got 3 kids, and my wife was an occupational therapist pre-kids. Yeah. And so now she has no desire to go back to being an occupational therapist. So there's a lot of talk about transition. What I transition into during my couple hours a day when the kids are at school. And so we haven't, I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, what am I going to transition into? Like when I'm done my job. And so then I'm like, well, and that was part of the thought process when Connect More was started. I'm like, well, it would be kind of cool to start doing some events with this company and start doing some things. So by the time I'm 60, so like in another 20 plus years, then I can have something that when I'm retired, I can be engaged in and do videos and go to schools, and it'll take 20 years to kind of build up so I can occupy my time, like 20 hours a week. Well, then I met Mike, and now it's it just blew up. I'm like, whoa, this isn't the timeline I was thinking about. But yeah, so that was another thought process that went into actually formalizing it, and also you have to formalize it as well, because if you do team building events, you have to show that you're an actual legitimate company, not just some guy that likes board games. Yeah. Also, I guess I fooled him. But yeah, you need to do it properly as well. Yeah. So
awesome.
Nice. Well, I actually wanted to touch on one thing you mentioned earlier, but the meet, eat, and then compete, because I've been to a few board gaming events, and it's definitely compete is the first thing. I remember I went to a Splendor. They had an OP kit.
Right.
I went to a local game store, play Splendor. I sat down, and I was there wanting to chat to people and you have a few laughs or something like that, and then the second we started playing, I made a move, and some guy's like, "Why would you do that?" And there was another lady who they were playing, and she made a move. He's like, that wasn't a really good move, and I'm there trying to diffuse the situation, like oh, it's just her first time playing. It's no big deal. We're all just having fun here.
I'm not. Why are you ruining me to have the chance to not have fun?
Yeah, exactly. I think we like me and Jacob think that games are all about the people who play them.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's a way to bring people together to meet, have fun, and have a good time.
Agreed. And what I don't say this to these guys, but it's like the other analogy I have is a sporting event, you got the players, they're down on the field. Then you got the commentator and the color guy. They're up top talking about the game, giving you okay. So if that's what you're interested in doing, don't be down with the players. Because they don't want to hear that chatter all the time. And you're like, why would they do that? Let's reanalyze this. Come on, that's silly. So when someone does that, I'm like, okay, you're on the turf, but you should be up there. Because that seems to be what you enjoy doing, telling everybody what they did wrong. Yeah. But guess what? They don't enjoy hearing it. So
it doesn't really matter what game is on the table. It can be good. And it can be bad, and it's all based on who you're playing the game with.
Agreed. Yeah. But that being said, there's so many good games out there, you might as well just make it a good one. Like you might as well have the best of both worlds. You get people to hang out with plus a good game. Life's too short to play a bad game twice. No, actually, I disagree. There are let me disagree. There are some games where after the first play, like that was horrible, but I haven't given that game a fair shot. And honestly, some heavier games are that way because you're like, then that's when I have to do some soul reflection, take the rules, I have to reread the rules and go, oh, okay, I got that wrong. Because normally, if I play a heavier game, especially by like a designer that I trust or a publisher that I trust, or I get certain reviews and I don't enjoy it the first time, you owe it to the designer to review, refresh, did I get anything wrong? You owe it to the designer to give it another shot. And then once you're confident that you've given that game a fair shake, then you can play a bad game more than once, definitely, for that reason.
I think what I was trying to get at was you can have a game on the table that you absolutely love. It's a great game. It's your favorite game. But it's who's at the table with you that's going to make that an enjoyable experience for you.
Exactly.
If you're playing with a bunch of people who are just sour and they're hating on the game the whole time, you're not going to have fun playing it, even though it's your favorite game.
Agreed.
So it's all about the people.
Absolutely. Well, and that's why even the Connect More slogan is connect more to your family, friends, and community. Right. So, says nothing about board games. So maybe I'm in the wrong. But yeah. So that's why people are like, how dare you call yourself like games YYC. I'm like, well, I use games as a catalyst.
And I love that. I love that you're using it as a catalyst. For some reason that just gels with me.
Well, good. Well, it's exciting to have you there, and Jeff, hopefully you can come to an event when we get fired up again in September.
That'd be nice.
Another question I had, how do you choose a venue when you're going to do an event? How did you go about that?
Whoever says yes.
Okay.
No, let's see. Yeah, that's a good question. So our main venue is Nicastro, since that's who you came to, and they just have a great space. And the owner,
a really good space.
and the owner Tony Nicastro, he does a lot for the community. Thanksgiving, you see him giving away turkeys. Christmas, he gives away Christmas trees. He does a lot of great things, and so he was actually somebody we just wanted to be partnered with. He was you saw him on the news. I'm like, he seems like an excellent guy. I met him. He is an excellent guy. He runs a nice business. He's fully supportive of what we do. So we said we'd like to host some events here, and let's see how it works. And he loved it. And so since then we found some other guys that we wanted to or establishments to partner up with. And so we have some open contracts with people. And so then it depends on the size of people. So Tony, he's limited to 60 to 80 people, and then that space is pretty full. But we do have Famoso Pizza, that holds about 20 people downtown. Okay. So should we ever have a smaller event, we could approach them and say we'd like to do a smaller event. So it's just kind of available. We did a singles event at Last Best Brewery. They're always so packed and so busy. It's a matter of fitting something that's in, but that's a downtown location, which is great because you can start tapping into some of the downtown crowd as well. Sure. So geography is a big thing, and then just finding people that you gel with and that you have common interests in and want to work together with. And so you have some people, they don't want to work with you. Fine, that's no problem.
They're there to make the money.
And that's fine. Like everybody has a different personality, different thing that they're trying to do with their business, and other people they don't want board games in their business. No problem, right? So it's it's a bit of salesmanship, but then but once you find that right person, then there's no sale going on. It's both okay. We like each other. Let's move forward. And so we find that the people that we've combined with, it's been great. So honestly, it's just kind of geography and people that you know, and sometimes it's just a guy that knows a guy that introduces you to somebody.
Sure.
Okay, let's try that out.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of targeted approach, but a little bit of carpet bombing if you really want to get to a spot as well. So again, this I give all the credit to Mike because he's just tenacious about finding trendy places and good places and good partners. So,
cool.
Yeah.
With State of Play, you generally approach no one's come to you yet?
No, we had one come to us.
Well?
Yeah,
awesome.
we had one venue come to us, so they've been set up, which was great. They saw some, we did some our global TV. We did something in the morning show, so
cool.
they reached out to us. But normally it's been so. For example, our biggest partner right now is Good Earth. We're in 4 different Good Earth locations around Calgary, and so
that's a coffee shop here in Canada.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have a lot of listeners from elsewhere. I don't know if Good Earth is another place.
Yeah, I think it's mostly here in Calgary. You're right, because actually the original location is here in Calgary. We're in the original location.
Oh, really?
Right now. Yeah. So and that's owned by Mark, but he owns 3 other locations. Well, actually 2, but one is opening. Right. So we opened it up there, and then we were part of their, I think it was their 30th year celebration. So there's a bunch of other Good Earths there. So we talked to their corporate, and then we actually talked to the owner. The owner loved the idea. So then he basically told his other venues, hey, check it out. And because of that, then we got 3 other Good Earths to sign up. So then we're starting to get established within the Good Earth brand as well, which is a great coffee shop to be partnered with. So yeah, up till now, again, we're only 3 months old. It's been us seeking out good partners, sure. And so we've had one instance where that wasn't the case. But it's right. So we're at 19 now that we have actual partners now, and now is basically now you look at on the map where all the locations are and trying to find other areas that you can actually get, because every area you want a diner, you want a cafe, and you want a pub. So you could do because they service 3 different types of clientele,
right? And
then you want those 3 things, and then Calgary is so quadrant based, and as I'm sure many other North American cities are. Like once you leave work, you come down to the southeast, you go down to the southwest. Now you're not going to drive up to the northwest to go buy a bag of apples, right? Because you're going to drive by 50 other grocery stores on your way. So why would you, right? And so that's why also some actual board game cafes, you're not going to go there every week, right? Just because you have to make it a destination, you have to make it kind of the event. Whereas your local Good Earth Coffee, or your Second Cup, we're in Second Cup here in Mackenzie Town, and that's another coffee shop, is that's a place you go to weekly. It might be where you go for your Saturday coffee or whatever.
Yeah, you're going there anyways.
You're going there anyways. And so now it's in your quadrant. And so then what we're trying to find is within each quadrant, get those different relationships. So now you kind of fill out what voids are existing in the State of Play, and then now you start seeking out good partners that could actually fill those voids, fill those markets for you.
And what's kind of like the step-by-step process? So you've met someone and they're just like, yeah, we're on board, we want to do this. You provide them with games, or you point them in the direction of games? No,
it's funny because, again, a lot of listeners, board game guys, if the game doesn't show up undinged in the shrink, and the shrink even has to be flawless, no, I want $3 off, right? Yeah, whereas our clients are totally different. I rip off the shrink, I punch out all the pieces, I shuffle up all the cards, I get the games all game ready, and so I'm a pro now at punching out Catan and all these things. So that's what we do, is we make them all game ready. Perfect. And so then what we'll also do is when they say we're interested, then what they do is they pay a deposit, so we know that they actually are interested. Yeah, sure. And then I'll look at certain things like first question I ask often is how big is your typical group size? Is it 2 to 5 or whatever? Because you want to tailor games towards a particular group size. Right. Then I look at their tables. Can the tables be connected? Are they wobbly? Starbucks has the worst tables, the round ones that are wobbly all the time. So okay, I got to work with that. Yeah. Do you have a patio? Should we get some patio games on there, weather resistant games like Hive, for example?
Sure.
So then you look at those things, and I go back and I have an Excel calculator. I punch in all the games, and and I figure I got different metrics and hurdles because they have expectations, we have expectations. So I bounce through all that, run the numbers, and then once I got the game, then I basically order. I have got a lot of games on supply, but I also order the games that I need. And I'm always building a database of games that would be kind of appropriate. And then once that comes in, then we get them game ready, and then we deliver them a box, and they get a reference sheet with it, and off we go. So it's it's every game library. There's a lot of crossover of games because there's certain classics,
Yeah.
but and things that work really well, and especially some like code names that's almost in for the places that get larger groups of 4. I know there's a 2-player variant, but let's not confuse the issue with variants. Let's just so let's just go. So if they know they're getting those bigger groups, then okay, we'll put code names in there, and now like Happy Salmon, that's become just a ridiculous fun game for a lot of people, and so like okay, let's put that in there. So
that'd be a tricky one though, I would imagine, because you have to be running around the table.
Well, we put those in pubs. We put it in a pub. Yeah, so if you put it like Ship and Anchor, like you can put it. Well, yeah, but that's half the fun, right? So put it in Ship and Anchor.
Dodging the waitress.
Absolutely. Hey, if we could be on the local news with some guy slamming some waitress, with 3 pitchers of beer on there, and explosion, whatever, that would be awesome. That'd be awesome. I would happily pay for that game. Yeah. So we take all those things into consideration, and I basically, once they say we're committed, we say, okay, give us 2 to 4 weeks, and then we deliver the board game library with them, and then we also offer training for all of their staff.
That was going to be my next question.
Okay, yeah. So if lots of our venues, they can get together and join together, we'll have a combined training and go through the games in the library. And this again is should they want to, because this only works if they want us to be there.
Right.
It's just, it can't be a box of games there. And so I fully expect that after the initial period, some people will be returning a box of games that has never been opened. Like I fully expect that, because some people want this magic bullet. Other people, they want this to be part of their culture. Sure. And so you're going to get a mixed bag, right? Yeah. So with that, then what we're going to do is then we walk them through the game. Sometimes when I deliver the games, I go through each one and show them a few little bits to get their staff around. When they come, the nice thing, the state of play dovetails really nicely with Games YYC, because then as being a venue, we give them free tickets, because Games YYC, you actually purchase the ticket to come. So we give them free tickets, so many per semester or whatever, and that they can send their staff to, so that they say we can continue to teach them their games. So there's a real synergy between the two things that we're doing. And so that's going back to your one question about branching out beyond Calgary. That's the trick, is you really need these enforcing events for the board game library and keep people enthused. So you'd almost need to partner with similar minded people elsewhere and finding. So if you're out there, let me know. Shameless plug. So, so that's kind of the issue. So because a lot of these places too, their turnover of their staff is anywhere from 6 months to 12 months. Right. Sure. So even if you do an initial training, so what you're hoping is that then the one staff, there's enough overlap that this continues to carry forward. But if we can't rely on that, so we give them other venues that people can come and actually do, come and get some level of training. So when they show up, we know they're showing up, say, from Ship and Anchor, which is a pub in downtown. We can say, great, I've got their list of games, and here's some games I'm going to get you focused on tonight to play at one of our events, just so you can find something that you love and then continue to teach it to the people who come to your place.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's perfect, because that kind of leads to my next question here that I was going to ask. I know State of Play is still fairly young, but I was going to ask, how do you manage to keep in touch with these companies over the course of time that they're doing this and introducing new games into their catalog of games? And that works perfectly with what you were just talking about, where they're coming to your Connect More game event and they get to play games, and maybe you show them something else and they're going, oh man, this is awesome. I want this in our location. Yeah. Boom, there's a sale.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's interesting about that, so all the libraries, all the State of Play locations get their first year of games up front, just to give them something, because otherwise if we just gave them a game every month, they're like, yeah, we got the State of Play game library. Here's coupons. The other guy, we got Ghost Splits. And you're like, okay, that's great, but that's not what I was hoping for. So then what we do is we give them the whole first year up front. Then after that, then you roll in games. And so the first thing that takes priority is actually maintenance. So we also take care of maintenance for them. So if they lose things, then we'll be the contact with the publishers to try to get their replace the maintenance. But that's only up to a certain percentage. Right. And after that, then it's on them to replace the game. So they actually have to purchase the game to replace it. But then once, so the better they maintain their games, the more new games they're going to get. And so they can continue to build their library. If we're always maintaining, that's fine too, because maybe they only want a level that size. Yeah. And so then what we can do too is the long-term strategy as well is a lot of these places, they have this contemporary environment. They don't want beat up looking games, even if the game is perfectly playable. Yeah. So then it's at our discretion to actually even pull games off like that has too much wear on it, and we'll replace it, as part of the maintenance. So once we get that worn game, the plan is we either keep it to harvest it for parts, so we don't have to be bugging publishers and stuff. So we can start, and again, like there's a lot of game overlap, so we can do that. The second thing we can do is going back to some more philosophies of Connect More. Is I refuse to make money off the kids and elderly. That doesn't happen. We don't do that. Sure, there's indirect costs. Ways people give you money, like stay to play, kids come to play with their parents. Sure, but for example, when I go to schools, I don't charge for that. Whenever they offer to pay, I say no, give that to your parent council. And elderly people, no, they earned their respect. Don't nickel and dime them so they can play Carcassonne. And honestly, they don't care. They just want to spend time with little Jimmy, right? Like honestly. And so then the plan is that once the games start coming off, if they're still playable, then what we'll do is the plan is start donating them to either children's hospitals, like any place where kids and elderly are waiting. Right. So you donate them back, and that gets the games another life. Fine, they're a little bit worn. I don't mean that out of any disrespect to those two groups, but come on, you can't do everything, right? So in that way you can continue to move it forward, and that's part of the maintenance. So we even tell them there might be some games that you think are still playable, but they don't look good. They don't fit the Starbucks mold. They're not crisp. They don't look sharp, and hopefully they get worn down fast. Like that's the plan, because that means that people are getting into the culture of it, right? And then we can continue to move that into other environments where the board games aren't like modern board games aren't prevalent, and we can start infiltrating there. And again, like if you want to try to vulture in on those markets, well, I'd be like selling vacuum cleaners door to door. The only reason why I say that, no offense to vacuum cleaning salesmen out there, because my grandma bought 2 in 1 week recently. So you're like, come on, and so you have to call it like, come on, you know what you're doing. That like shame on you, right? So that's kind of the So I know, like it's horrible.
And she has a central vac as well, right?
Yeah, like, but the poor lady, she's so frail, she can't even push the vacuum cleaner herself, right? So I'm like, well, what vacuum cleaner do we use today? The Dyson, this one, so let's shampoo your carpet while we're at it. So.
Right on. I have a question here about, let's say you've only dealt with people here in kind of Calgary, Alberta, maybe in the adjacent provinces. If someone from out of country contacted you, would you be willing to work with them and help them, or is that kind of you're not ready for that yet?
I never say never, because like my real job, I sell oil and gas prospects all the time. Sure. And if people say, hey, do you know something about such and such? You always say, yep. You never stop the conversation. You never say no. It's always like, I'm interested in learning about that. I've got some, you always find some peripheral way that you can keep the conversation going, because you never know where those conversations lead. Right. So then I can't speak specifically as what that looks like, because you never know how things develop. But I'm a firm believer, if someone takes their time to contact you, to reach out to you, then you continue to harvest that contact for as long as you're both getting a mutual benefit. And if it's just a great guy, great, let's have a conversation. You never know where things lead to. Like for example, like one prospect I wanted to sell, it didn't make it anywhere. 3 years later, a guy dusted it off the shelf. He's like, let's do this again. Awesome. And off we went, and we're drilling, right? So you never know. There's dead ends. There's other opportunities, but you always keep that conversation alive. So my answer is, if people contact us, we definitely have that conversation and definitely just see how we fit together and keep that conversation alive. So
Cool. Did you have another question?
No, that I think you covered in all your talking.
Sorry.
No, I think that makes it easy on us, because we can just listen. I had my questions and you just answered them all.
Well, I don't know. Do you guys try to keep your podcast to a certain length?
No, we're kind of renowned for just rambling off and on different topics and going completely off topic and then coming back to it later.
Yeah.
So we've gone from, I think, an average of 90-minute episodes, and now we're just on the precipice of 3 hours per.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah.
podcast.
Well,
so it just grows.
But you say that you guys are renowned for getting off topic, then coming back to it. I'm renowned for just getting off topic. Yeah. I'm just kind of, where am I? I'm like the guy in the hospital with the gown with no back on it, just walking around. What happened? Where am I?
Awesome. Well, we thank you for coming on the channel here, sharing everything. Would you like to do a plug here and just tell people where they can find you? Just have at her.
Yeah, sure. So you've heard everything that I have to say about Connect More. But yeah, if you want to come find me on social media, if you're really interested in more of the board game related things, Connect More Board Games is on Facebook. I get really stoked when I see likes on there, so as I'm sure you guys do as well. So it's pretty good. So yeah, come find me there. If you're interested in your Calgary, more interested in the gaming events, we're at Games YYC, and we have an Instagram account and we have a Twitter account, and that's also where you'll find us on Meetup, and we post all of our events on Meetup. But the Games YYC Twitter and Instagram accounts, I also try to post pictures of the games I'm playing, and I manage those accounts myself, and so it's more game focused. So whereas the other accounts, we have Stay to Play, so we have Stay to Play, and the 2 is the actual number .ca. That's the webpage for Stay to Play, and we have Stay to Play Twitter, or Stay to Play _CA for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And those are all the things that Mike manages. So that's more social based and kind of where we're at, kind of focused on that. And then if you are interested in any video reviews, I'm on Connect More Board Games on YouTube as well. So any one of those channels, come find us. And then also my webpage is connect-more.ca. And there you can see the different branches of things that we're working on as well. But it's still under construction, not because of the developer. She does a great job. She's actually the designer for Days of Ire, Budapest 1956, and Redacted, but it's just because I got so many other things I don't get to it as often as I should. So any one of those venues, I'd love to see you there. I'd love to make a connection with you guys, so that would be great.
Awesome.
Right, nice for coming. Thanks for coming on. Nice to have you. Yeah, it was excellent. Some good stories.
No, it was an absolute pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks for organizing it.
All right, guys, remember to like and subscribe to our videos.
And so I'm gonna do the board game links this time. Down in the description down below, you can go to our board games link and give us some hearts so that we can move up the charts.
Yeah.
And then we get into the top 100, and everyone will find us, and then they'll love us as much as you guys do.
Yeah, and also follow us on Twitter at Meeple. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.